Sorry. Yeah. I had to. All good. Oh dear.
How to make money as a creative.
Oh, goats. You're so close.
Goats. I'm getting the fence enough so I can get over that.
Whilst you're moving to your preferred spot, I just read the most stupidest thing. I couldn't get my autosave facility to work on my Microsoft Word today because I'm starting draft 3, and now that I've got all the scenes where I want them and the descriptions where I want them, and like the plot is what I want, I'm writing directly into a Word document so I have a nice clean document for formatting later. Apparently, Word 365 does not allow you to autosave anywhere except for OneDrive.
I think I just scared the goats.
Well, I'd be too if someone just sort of climbed into my personal space.
Yeah, look, they've shat everywhere, which is really kind of annoying. Oh.
I couldn't believe it. I pay a yearly fee for my for my Office 365, and I can't even choose where my autosave goes. No, I have to pay more to get OneDrive.
That's stupid.
I'm actually tempted to go back to OpenOffice. And then, yes, we have Tim Tams in the wild and goats.
Tim Tams in the wild. And hopefully tripods that work. There we go. Hey.
Oh, there she is. I knew Arwen was in here with me because I got the door shut. And I couldn't see her anywhere. She was right up my feet. Do you want to go out and see Moon? Okay. How'd you go?
The goat nibbled my butt.
They're looking for treats.
Yeah. What have you got in her butt? Hello. Not used to me being in here.
God, that was gorgeous. Hot today?
Stop licking my ass. You gotta see this. Look, if I just.
I love that I can now put people in solo layout.
Yeah.
It's a goodie. You must have sat on something tasty.
I don't know what. Maybe it's just because they're green. Do I smell edible?
Oh God, we are meant to be having a serious conversation, but give us 5 minutes to just,
I've got another to eat the tribal. Now she's licking me. Oh, sweetie. I smell yum, do I? Do I smell nice? Just like trying to eat me.
Oh my God.
Stop licking my pants. These were clean. I'm gonna have to put these in the laundry now.
It might be that. It might be the smell of the soap or something.
Well, I think it might be. I don't know. Oh
Go
my gosh, licking me as well. So, like, look at this. Licking my arm. I'm probably all salty from like the hot day out in the sun.
Yeah. Well, got to what? 35 up in the north today.
It was like 37 for me.
Hey, Sue. We have
Hey,
a Sue.
I'm
wild-
out in the wild with goats trying to eat all of my stuff because Dad's moved their paddock. So now my seat where I sit and do streams is in the middle of the goat paddock. So I literally have them like nibbling my butt and my arm.
Brandon, I dubbed thy goat corny.
Don't eat the charger cable, please, Missy. No. That is not food. It is not food. It is not food. I literally got her face in my palm, my hand, going, "It is not food." Okay.
Yeah, so we haven't quite started on the topic yet. We're just, taking a few minutes, easing ourselves in. I'm still eating. I haven't stopped eating all day. I'm not even hungry. I just want a snack. Yes, I know they're not exactly the best thing for me, but they're what we have in the house. Oh, you got a whole audience there.
Yeah. It's not food. Stop eating my pants and my
They
streaming.
definitely think it's dinner time. Salty goodness. Salty goodness.
So I'll be out here while the light lasts, and then I'll have to head back inside. And I've got to remind to turn the fence back on so that the goats don't get out.
The tricksy little buggers. They used to look after a friend's goats when she went away occasionally. And God, they were close.
Don't eat my boob. No. No headbutting either. I don't want to get warmed by your horns.
The problem is, Brandon, is it's so bloody hot in Melbourne at the moment. We don't want to eat Tim Tams because it's chocolate. And to me, chocolate is for like warming you, not cooling you down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll probably melt in your finger before you had a chance to eat it. You'd end up with like the little finger indents in your Tim Tams, which I don't like.
Yeah, no, it's a bit unpleasant. Oh, my exposure keeps going a bit shit, so sorry about that. Anyway.
Okay.
No, so if I go like this, right?
Mm.
Ha!
The lighting expert. No comment. Now you may hear children. I've got my window mostly open, and they've got a blow-up pool or something in the backyard. So just too hot to close the house up. So I do apologise in advance. But anyway, welcome. Those of you that have come, we've got Brandon and Sue so far. Hopefully we'll get a few more as we go on. I know the streams that I'm putting on, I'm not... Nice chest shot there, Charlotte.
I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes and goats. Look at this bastard. Where's my camera? That is squished mozzie. Oh, you may hear parents in the background. And goats that keep licking me. Alright. Let's get into this before I get eaten by the goats or mosquitoes.
So we don't have humidity. We just have flat heat today. And it got to like, I think, 34, 35 in Melbourne. I got up close to 37. It's going to be high again tomorrow. It's going to be in the 40s in Melbourne on Monday. And I'm driving up. And I'm driving up to the country tomorrow to go see my brother and my sister-in-law. At least the car's got aircon.
I am going to be actually dead on Monday. Oh, it's not going to be a fun time. It's not going to be a fun time at all.
Unfortunately, Brandon, a week of 35s and 40s is not unusual in Melbourne. It's just how we live here. That means by Tuesday will be hot. Yeah. So you guys will be. I think it's coming in from the west. So you've got a storm up there, don't you? I thought you had a cyclone up in the what was it, between Queensland and Northern Territory? Is that one gone?
I don't know what it's called. So. Oh gosh, I'm getting Wi-Fi mosquitoes now. First it's goats, mozzies. Okay, I gotta turn my brightness up.
30s and 40s, that's normal.
There we go.
You should have seen it last year, Brandon. Last year, we were dry and hot, and we had smoke rings all over the city. It was not pleasant, and
Stop hitting me, darling. Stop.
Oh, okay.
What is so tasty about my pants? It's the same one every time. I've discovered something. I'm going to use your pants.
At the 20s, yeah. Well, I started burning at the low 20s too, but unfortunately I live in Melbourne, so.
Yeah. 20s is okay. Like
I'm up to about 28.
My favorite.
And normally I'll be finding the heat because I love summer, but I'm pregnant and no. Not at the moment. I'm about a month earlier this time around than I was pregnant with Mark. So I'm that little bit heavier, that little bit further along, that little bit hotter. Oh dear.
Oh, I must have like 10 mosquito bites already. It's so itchy.
Ugh. Okay, we good?
Yes, let's do this.
Okay, so thanks for coming, guys. We decided to do a little bit of a chat, creative business chat, which is what I'm going to start calling these streams, not just a writer or an author chat, a creative business. Because I've seen a few things popping around off and on about marketing, pricing your books, pricing your items. And I know Charlotte's got a few words to say in this. And Emmy definitely has words to say. I wish she can make it a little bit later. But unfortunately, due to Western Australia being, 3 years and how many years, 3 hours and how many years behind, and that's South Australia. But yeah, Western Australia is 3 hours behind. So unfortunately, she's busy at the moment. But hopefully she'll be up to just popping in because I know she could rant for a long time about this because not only does she do makeup artist, but she also has graphic design training. And so it would be very interesting to see her sort of, talking about, effectively what is the value of what we're making here?
Yeah.
That boils down to it and I think this conversation has come up because a few of us have seen particularly over the last couple of months, people giving advice on not paying more than a certain amount on certain things, and it's like, no. There's a reason an artist charges what they charge, and it's not because they want to get rich quick.
Yes, we had that rant in. I'd forgotten about that actually. We had
That's
that rant in the chat, which is now called what? Like
critical broken bitches, because apparently
yeah,
I'm a critical broken bitch because I didn't cry at the end of Addie LaRue.
yeah, and our response was, I feel like we should change the chat name because that's all of us. Except like mine wasn't Addie LaRue because I did cry at the end of that, but definitely critical.
Yeah.
Probably very broken. But yes, so I think I can't remember what started the conversation originally, but I think it was to do with cover design for books.
Emmy had heard someone say, I don't know who it was, but Emmy heard someone say you should never pay more than blah for a cover. And
yeah,
hello.
But it wasn't so much giving a price range, it was the way that the information was presented. So the information presented in a way is like, this is a hard and fast rule, you should never pay more than this, without
Correct.
any nuance or disclaimer that depending on the situation, the price ranges vary significantly depending on budget. Like the way that it should have been framed is there are budget friendly options for you to be able to get a professional cover design within your budget range. So this is what you should be looking at if you're indie pub for the first time and you have a low budget. This is the sort of budget range you should be looking at, rather than framing it as you should never pay, because that just stems into devaluation of artists' work, and depending on, again, the budget range that you're looking for, there are price ranges available at pretty much most budget ranges. And if you are in a traditional published or a higher budget range and you want something of a lot higher quality from a very highly skilled artist, you need to be paying them for their expertise as well as for their time. And their expertise, the years that they have spent developing the skills that you are now hiring for.
So for instance, I just watched Natalia Lee's announcement today. I think she released late last night or for us. But they're now doing book covers.
Yeah.
And I'm on her website right now. She's got pre-made book covers. So they're already being designed. They're ready to go. You just need to effectively put your title and your name on them. And they start at $120 US. Now, they've obviously taken into account how long it took to make them, what was behind them, all that sort of stuff to make that price. That's a good budget price for a professional designed cover. Okay, it's not going to be unique to you. It's going to be unique to you, but it's not going to be unique to your story. But when you go and have a look at her pricing for a custom cover, $300 up to at least $800 US. Depending on whether or not you want a relatively simple one or you want something that's got a custom illustration on it. And to me, that is a perfectly acceptable range of pricings.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree.
I'm surprised the custom illustration doesn't cost more.
Yeah. And it's probably because she has access to the artists who will be doing the illustration and has arranged a rate through them as a sort of, so that they will be getting like a lower rate, but they get all of their business from that imprint. So that will be the sort of arrangement why you would get a cheaper deal with going through someone like Natalia who will arrange it.
Yeah. Dare I say it? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she would have deals where if you bundled maybe editing and cover design and internal formatting together, they might do a better deal for you. But that's because they're doing all the work. But that was just an example price range. But what concerns me, this is a talk about broader creative industries, is, and let's face it, creative industries tend to be populated by more women than men. I do, and this is huge in the creative business when it comes to making things like sewing and jewelry making, things like that. The handmade businesses. There seems to be this devaluing, even by some people who are in the industry, that they just don't think that by selling their handmade product at $10, because that's what it costs them to buy the parts, is not devaluing the person who has to survive on the money they bring in because it's the only job in the house, and then not paying their wage. You know that it's
There's I think there's multiple different problems here. I think it's at least twofold, maybe threefold. The first is that the sort of social narrative is that if you're an artist, you should be pricing your work cheaply. Piss off, goat, stop eating my notebook. And you have an obligation like that if you're working for yourself, unless you are some highly awarded artist creator person, you shouldn't be charging for your work. There is a social narrative that shush, Danny, come join us.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'll just put myself on do not disturb.
I'm trying to find this meme because I should have looked it up before we went live, but I saw this meme a few years ago. Got it.
Okay. Let me bring this up because this to me says it all. Chrome tab. Okay. So if other professions were paid like artists, now it's a bit hard. I'm not getting paid for this surgery per se, but it's but the patient has assured me great exposure.
Yeah.
I give most of my legal counsel away for free. I can't read it, but that's illegal. I'd love to. Oh, then there's the last one is a CEO saying, "I don't get paid to be a CEO. It's labor of love." You know.
Yeah.
God, that is a really shit copy of it. But that's.
So I got sidetracked by my phone dinging, but I was on a roll. So there's the social narrative, which is I have a bit of a rant in my head. Let me just turn my brightness up because I'm fading in the light. There's a social narrative of the starving artist, which is highly romanticized through figures like Van Gogh or Van Gogh or Van Gogh or however you fucking say it. Like him with the narrative of, oh, he only sold one painting in his lifetime, but look at him now. He's a genius, recognized as one of like the world's best painters sort of thing. It's like, yeah, but he's fucking dead. He can't pay for his therapy with that. He can't eat with that. He's never going to have the benefit of him being a genius artist because at the time he wasn't recognized for that, and no one bought his paintings.
And there's also this other side to the coin too, which I've seen in the creative handmade industry, is people feel like they're selling out when they're asking for a reasonable amount of money for the item they have made.
Yeah.
Okay. So the basic when it comes to jewelry making or making a product, or say you make ceramic pots or something, you got to take your materials, you got to take your basic expenses, okay, internet, phone, website, add that all in, and you come up with a price. You times that times, then you got to add in your wage. So if it takes you 3 hours to make something and you want to be paid a decent amount, say okay, low wage in Australia, $20 an hour. That's a low wage in Australia. So that's $60 before you've even touched your goods and services, or your bits and pieces.
not to mention all the costs of running a business. Then you times that by 2.5, you get a wholesale amount. So you might end up with maybe $200 wholesale.
Yeah.
Times that by 2.5, and you have a retail value. That's $500.
Yeah.
So there's this huge sort of disconnect for some people because they're like, well, I only paid $20 for the material, but they don't think about that 3 hours of, and not to mention all the hours, hundreds of hours before them of them perfecting their craft to get paid. And and then when they and you see it a lot in the creative handmade industries, they're like, oh, I did the sums and it should be $500, but I'm going to sell it for $250 because I just feel that no one's going to buy at that price. Honey, someone will buy at that price.
And someone else who is making the same sort of thing is now losing out on sales because you've undercut their market, and that is their income. So there's multiple layers where this becomes a problem. So the first one is that the social narrative is romanticized as the norm. And like someone just said in the chat, there's saying artists only make money once they're dead, which does encourage people to go into the arts with a healthy mindset of making money and valuing their own work. Then they get into the position where they are making things and undercutting the other artists in the market because they don't value their own work, because of this social narrative that has been ingrained into them that they won't make any money doing this, so you shouldn't try to make money doing this, you should just give it away. Now, I have a bit of a rant which is called the starving artist stereotype is capitalist propaganda.
Yeah.
Because it really is. This is a narrative that is like portrayed in sort of and by places that benefit off it, and the people that benefit off it are the people who are not paying their artists properly deliberately. So people like big companies who won't pay their graphic designers because it's good exposure to work with our brand, or big companies or brands on Instagram sliding into the DMs of professional photographers asking them to be an ambassador for their brand. Being an ambassador for their brand involves buying their product, getting a slight discount, then taking professional photos on the product that you've paid for and posting them on your own personal Instagram and giving them to the brand. So the brand is,
and there's a case
and
God,
not the photos that they're getting.
I can't remember his name, but he I think it was in the UK. Made beautiful Celtic style tall and bracelets. Sorry?
Was it the Irish guy who does like the vintage fashion stuff?
Possibly. But apparently he would get like an email a week. Oh, we love your stuff. It would be great exposure if you send us something. And it's like, guys, how much this shit takes me to make?
Damien Broderick, I think his name is. Yes, I follow him too. That's exactly who I was thinking of, because he posts the screenshots on his Instagram story explaining why this is a problem and going through, this is what you're asking from me. Are you aware that this is what you're asking from me? And he literally calls out some of the brands and will just be like, thanks, but no, here is why. I'm a professional photographer. This is my living.
Yeah.
And I need to value my expertise and my skills, because otherwise people won't. And the sad thing is that for every person like him who knows his value, there's a photographer who maybe hasn't worked to the level yet, isn't confident in their own work, and will take
gets excited, doesn't actually think about it, goes, oh my God, I'm going to get all this exposure. It's Jess Van Den from Create and Thrive. She talks about this regularly. Like, she'll get an email saying, we love your stuff, it's beautiful, we want to feature it in Insert magazine.
She'll send them back an email and say, and they'll be, oh,
here's how much it'll cost you. I just recently got a pile of goddamn emails, supposedly from Amazon. I don't think it was, about if you pay this money, you can become a best-selling author. I'm like, honey, I've got a children's picture book out. Do you really think I'm going to spend $300 on advertising for a children's picture book?
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon, I text someone because I can't have the chat up and see Renee at the same time, and I had closed the chat like 2 minutes before, and I couldn't remember which of the 3 people watching had said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So this has been on my mind a lot lately as well, because in theatre I am just getting back into it, and I'm sort of kind of battling that sort of feeling when you push yourself out of your comfort zone, where you're just like, this is terrifying, I shouldn't do this is ridiculous, I should just go back to the stuff I'm comfortable with. So I've been battling that, which I think is another area where artists trip up when they're battling that they start to not charge for their work in those situations.
They don't feel comfortable charging for it. Yeah. And bear in mind, guys, this is January 21. We are all battling COVID anxiety going back to the workplace.
Yeah.
Going back into crowded areas, back into places like that. It's a thing because we've all had major lockdown.
So I had this conversation with a friend of mine who is coming on board as a producer, director, like stage manager, every woman for for my cabaret piece. I don't know if I've said what cabaret piece I'm working on yet, so I'm going to hold that, and I think I've got it in a video that might come out.
I don't think you've mentioned it yet, no.
I haven't announced it yet. I'll tell you later, because every time I tell someone the title, they're just like, that is brilliant. And that is going to be one of my main marketing things, is the title of the show is very good. And it's not what someone asks. But Gay Bomb is also an excellent title for a show, which I hope. Yeah.
Gay Bomb.
Gay Bomb. It's a gay bomb. Yeah, anyway. So I'm doing this show. I've got a person, because it's just me singing and performing and doing the show, it's a very small team requirement. So I've got an every woman person, and I'm trying to get my friend to come and do marketing stuff for me, but he's a bit out of it at the moment and might not be available. So
yeah.
If he can't do it, Emma will do that as well. But the awesome thing about this is, as soon as we were sitting down having the conversation, she was about to say something. I think she said something, and I was just like, yes, I was on the exact same thing, because she was like, what are you thinking in terms of like, and then she said something like, it really annoys me when people go into doing a show with the attitude of like, oh, we're not going to make any money, so why should we try? And I was like, yes, I want this to make money. I want this to be a profit share split between whoever we have in. And the advantage of only having the 2 of us, or maybe the 3 of us, if we have Stephen involved, it might be involving just paying him a flat rate for his marketing materials work. And then the profit share split between the 2 of us, maybe paying a designer to come on board as well if we need it, depending on the venue. But we will have a very big split of profit share between the 2 of us, because I am writing and creating and performing. Emma is producing, outside eye, doing all of the backstage stuff, which is a lot of the stuff I can do, but she's doing it so that I don't have to think about that while I'm going back into the terrifying world of being a performer again. But we're going into this show with a schedule, and the knowledge of, we are doing this to try and make some money as well as wanting to do a show. Because if you go into it with the attitude, oh, you might not make any money, so why bother? Why set up the good practice to do that? If you know you're not going to you probably won't make any money, then you definitely won't make any money, because you're not investing the time or the resources into getting that return. And in order to make money doing theatre, you need to sell tickets. If you're not as concerned about making money, you're not going to be as concerned about selling tickets. And then you probably won't sell as many tickets because you haven't put the effort in to do that. You're also devaluing your own sort of work. And also, I see this a lot where like small companies will, and like amateur theatre and stuff. Amateur theatre, I kind of understand it because it's more of a hobby like they're usually not making any money, like they'll break even.
But amateur theatre is also too weeding out those that just want to do it for fun and those that are actually starting to think, hang on, I can make a career of this as well.
It's a training ground. It's like it's kind of like where you go to cut your teeth in the theatre industry. So it's an important thing in and of itself, and it needs to cover the costs of being a sustainable company so that it can keep running. So they'll often pay their crew but not the actors, because they often hire professional crew. So yeah, that's a different situation. But when it's an independent company or a semi-professional company, going in with this attitude, and even just individual practitioners going in with the attitude of, oh well, I won't make any money doing theatre, so I'm gonna get a day job and stuff. Like, by all means, get a day job to pay your bills, but don't go into then your professional work with the attitude of like, we're not gonna make any money, because that will sort of filter down. And it's an incorrect assumption as well, because if you have the right resources around you, if you like ask people, there are ways of getting funding and doing grant applications and stuff like that and getting paid for your work. You may not be getting paid the same as you would at your hourly job straight off the bat, but you can make a living doing arts and doing creative work.
And it's a mindset. Like, for instance, I don't expect Where is Baba to make its money back for a long time. It will eventually, because now that it's out there, it can just sit there. But I still got my ABN, my Australian business number. I still created a business because I'm running it as a business. I'm running it for profit. And I think when it comes to creative businesses, some people see the word profit and also to marketing as a dirty, dirty word. And that's all coupled in with I'm doing this because I love doing it, so I'm really embarrassed to ask for money for it.
Yeah.
And then you have big businesses and this attitude. People, when I was a teenager, we had to do a career session. And I sat down in there, I think I was like 15, 16 years old. And I turned around and they said, well, what do you want to do? And I went, well, I want to be an author. What's your backup job?
Yeah. Heard that one. For me, it was around VC subject choosing time. And I just picked all of the subjects that I wanted to do because now I'm realizing I'm pretty sure I have ADHD, and that was me realizing like I won't cope if I don't do the subjects I want to do because I just won't be able to get through it. But also I had the attitude of like, I know I will do better in the subjects that I'm interested in, and this is what I want to do. And that's what I did for university as well. I was like, in year 12, people would ask, and I was like, yeah, I want to do this specific theatre course at Monash. This is what I want.
I was like, they got me.
Yeah. Well, it's like, why?
I redid my year 11. So I originally had literature, writing, music performance, music theory, ceramics. I originally had art. I originally had all those subjects, the subjects I loved doing and enjoyed. And I ended up staying down, redoing my year 11 and doing maths methods, specialist maths, physics, chemistry, which I also enjoyed doing, but it wasn't where my heart was. I actually enjoyed doing them. I enjoyed learning about them, but I would have gotten a hell of a lot better TERS score if I had actually just stuck with what classes I did, even though in those days they actually made those courses. If you got an A for that, an A in ceramics was not equal to an A in science when I was at school.
They still do that. Drama is down. If you do drama or theatre studies in VCE, it is marked down by 10 points.
Yes. So
that means if you get an A, like a score for that subject of 40, when it is scaled taken for your overall ATAR, it is dropped down to the equivalent of a 30 in English or maths.
For those of you not in Australia, every class you take in your year 12, which is your final year of high school, gets is it ATAR these days? An ATAR?
So your ATAR is your overall, and you get a score per subject as well. So your combined subject scores will determine your ATAR, and it is ranked for every student in the state of Victoria. So it's not based on how well you did relative to the correct answers in the subject matter. It's how well you did relative to every single student in the entire state.
But it's also, before that, it is scoped based on how difficult the subject is. So with my first set of subjects, I could have gotten an A+, and I was capable of it, in ceramics, art, music performance, which I used to play guitar, classical guitar, music theory, which we actually pulled apart The Dark Side of the Moon. God, that was a great class. And so I had ceramics, I had art, I had English, and I had literature. I actually had 6 subjects. You only need 5. Yes.
You need 5 in year 12.
Biology, sorry, that was 7. There were 7 subjects in year 11, and then you drop down to 5 in year 12.
Yeah.
Biology was my science subject. So if I had gotten an A+ in every single one of those subjects, I still would have had my score lowered because they're easy subjects compared to. So I would never have gotten 99.85 or 95, which is apparently the best. For me, it was tertiary education rank, or something it was short for, because that was 98, 99. But I would never have gotten that perfect TER score, because in the mind of the people who do this, organise this Australia-wide system, art is not on the same level as science.
Yeah, and in the chat, there's some interesting comments. Eva, think of who degrades the arts. It's rarely scholars, even today. So this is happening in universities at the moment in Victoria. Monash University and Federation University and several just cut their theatre courses, and art funding was completely pretty much cut last year. Okay. So the art degrees went from costing 15 grand roughly to 115 grand for an art degree, which they keep telling you won't give you any jobs, which is ridiculous because the majority of politicians have arts degrees as well as like law or whatever.
But it's okay. This whole situation is about the universities is all tied up with COVID, because
it's not just COVID. It was before COVID as well.
Wanted to do this. The federal government wanted to cut funding, but they didn't have a reason to cut funding. When COVID hit and Australia got locked down the first time in March, April, May, and they had to do all the rescue packages that they did, they went, oh, look, let's cut funding to the universities in these areas to make up the shortfall.
And their excuse for it was because they were putting the funding towards like essential job courses, like TAFE courses in like building and stuff like that. They're essential. This is coming from, we've literally had, there's a conservative government at the moment, and we've had conservative politicians who, when asked about why they won't fund universities or make tertiary education more subsidized or free, they've said, why would we give them money? They don't vote for us.
Yeah.
That is the attitude that we're like battling, not just in Australia, but like in a lot of the sort of Western countries that have shit arts funding. It is because they know a lot of the arts communities are the more liberal, progressive communities. And so when it's a conservative government, they won't invest in those communities or give funding towards that, because they know that's money going towards people who won't vote for them or won't vote them back.
It's also true. It's this beautiful. it's this huge perception too that in my mind, I might be wrong, but I feel that politicians, business people, science people don't feel. Actually, I would hazard to guess science people do, but the rest of them, business and politicians, and that don't feel that the arts actually contribute much to society.
$111 billion.
But it's not the money. It's the, obviously science can contribute vaccines, it can contribute medicines, what can art contribute? And it's like, well, art makes, we are human by the fact that we make art. If we didn't make art, we wouldn't. Yeah, well, but we would just be another animal.
Yeah. It's really interesting, yeah. So this is all the sort of background attitudes that then tie into why artists make the choice to undervalue themselves if they do, or why society does. Oh, food. Hang on.
How to derail Charlotte. Yeah. So, Justin, if I was to attend a 4-year uni for any degree, it would cost about the same. Science costs more due to labs and such. Yeah, it used to be the same here. We also have this ability in Australia where we defer our university fees. I actually have a university debt. It used to be called a HECS debt. I don't know what it's called these days.
It still is, yeah. I've got one too.
Yeah. But I don't earn enough to actually have to pay the government back. I have to earn something like, I think, is it 50,000 a year now or 55,000 a year? You have to earn before you start having to pay it back through your tax system.
I'm not actually sure what it is, but this brings up another memory that I hadn't thought of, which is relevant to this discussion, which is when I was at university, I was very much trying to pay off my university debt as I went. And I succeeded. Yes. I paid off like half of my degree before I'd even finished my degree.
That's good. That's good. I only did a year of uni. And I'd paid a fair bit. I actually did a year of a year of professional writing and editing at Deakin when it still existed. I don't think it exists anymore, to be honest.
Probably not. Arts funding.
Yeah, and I think I had about $5,000 left to pay off, which was about half a year's worth of the fees. So university does cost a lot in Australia, but you never see the cost because you don't have to pay it the year you do it. It comes out of your tax when you're earning more. And this is part of the reason why they've defunded the arts, because most people in artists' jobs don't earn the minimum needed to pay back their fees.
But here's the paradox, because if they funded the arts, most people in the arts would earn enough to pay back their HECS debt. And this is the attitude I met at university, because I was like, when I said, oh yeah, I'm paying off my uni fees, people would be like, why would you bother? We'll never have to pay that back. We're artists. And I was just like, so you never want to earn a living wage doing the stuff that you do? And that was like the attitude in these professional people, like being trained to be professional theatre makers. And I was just like, this is the sort of attitude that then carries over to when we're making theatre shows. These are the sort of attitude that has then turned into the, oh, well, we'll never make any money doing this, so why would we try? And this is where the problem starts in high school, when the art subjects are marked down and the teachers are telling you, oh, why would you bother doing a theatre course? You'll never get a job from that. That's I've had a verbatim quote from multiple teachers. Or when you talk to your careers advisor and you put your top 5 preferences as all the different theatre courses, and they're just like, are you sure you don't want to add in like one different one as a backup one? And I was like, no, because I don't want to do university if it's not for art. Oh my gosh.
So my original intent, like this is the idea I had in my head when I was, I think, about 15, 16 years old.
going into. I did the musical performance because I loved it, but what I wanted to do was get better at my drawing and sketching. And at the time, digital art wasn't really a thing, but game making was. So my big thing about, because I used to be a huge gamer, one of the things I hated about games in those days was the fact that the writing was so badly edited. Okay, these are the days we actually used to have the characters write on screen what they were saying, and they didn't actually have voices, you know. Little older than what some people might be used to. But so my original intent was I wanted to be a writer, I wanted to be an author, but I would have loved to have gotten into the gaming industry and done that. Even that was shit.
Yeah.
Because it was still technically arts.
Yeah. And this is where it comes back to, like, Hannah Gadsby has a great rant about we need to stop romanticizing mental illness in the arts and figures like Van Gogh, because the problem then stems on much further than just like, oh, how romantic, he didn't sell a painting and now he's a success. Like, maybe one day your art will be worth thousands. It actually causes a lot of ingrained issues by, like, having that narrative be the main one that's told to people going into the arts. And it's not just like one artist might not decide to be an artist. It's that it puts at risk the livelihoods of everyone in the creative industries, as well as that mental health of everyone in the creative industries. And it creates a system that is designed to profit off of artists without any of the profit going back to the artists.
Yeah. And it also puts in this thing that your art isn't worth anything unless you have a corporate job that uses art. For instance, graphic design for marketing materials or something like that. And there's so much more to art and creative work in businesses. And I think this is because what got the bee in my bonnet is we've talked about the person that sort of didn't really qualify their statement very well. Let's just say that how much you should pay for book cover. And what gets the bee in my bonnet is I'm in quite a few. I'm not on Facebook a lot like I used to be. I'm on more on Instagram, but I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for authors and writing and publishing. And I see this at least every week. I see at least one person going on about making their book perma-free, which means they're permanently free.
Yes.
And okay, it's the basic funnel. It's to get the person in, give them the first taste for free, and then hit them with the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And in some ways, like they say, oh well, you know, have book 2 and 3 at a price, and then book 4 and 5 at a higher price.
Yeah.
And you know, 6 and 7 at higher again. So because they're invested, they're going to buy. And my biggest problem with that is that coming from a handmade business industry, jewelry, I never put my jewelry on sale. Never. Because once you start putting something on sale, people wait for the sale to buy it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to release, say, book 5 of a series, and you decide to make book 1 perma-free forever, that's fine. But book 2, 3, and 4 will go down to, say, $2.99 from $9.99 for a month to celebrate book 5. You're going to get someone come along and you're about to release book 6 and go, well, I'm not going to pay anything until you have your celebratory sale for releasing book 6, and I can get everything cheaper.
Yes, I am eating lemon peel.
I don't mind. Is it cured? No, it's just standard. Okay.
Standard. Just your good old lemon rind. Yes. So I see this, like, there are arguments that I've seen for this that make sense, which is
Yeah.
it's a marketing strategy.
Marketing strategy, it makes a lot of sense. But for
The
the
where
health
the problem
of
is,
the industry,
yeah, it's given out as I think some places it's given out with a decent chunk of good advice of this is only really effective if you have a big backlog of published work available and you make the first book in a series perma-free or free.
but you don't see that though. You see people that have putting out book 2 or book 3 and saying, well, I'm going to make book 1 perma-free because that's what all the marketing says to do. And it's like,
Yeah,
but
that's not
have you
a good idea.
even made your costs back yet?
Yeah. And like indie publishing costs money. And if you're going in with this attitude that you're not going to make money back, then you're not going to want to invest in things like covers. And then you're not going to want to pay your cover designers what the cover might be worth. And then you get the people complaining about how expensive covers are.
Yes. Yes.
It's like, if you don't want to do all that stuff properly, just pitch your books to traditional publishing and let someone else do it for you.
But, you know, there is other sides to that. Like, for instance, I intend to make my own covers. But that's because I do have a little bit of artist background. I know I'm not going to make the best cover in the world, but when I can afford to, I will go and get a new cover. I just can't afford the cover I want now.
Yeah.
So I've got to make do. But that's the price of business. You got to make a decision. Do you fork out? It's like Courtney from Courtney Project talks a lot about how, you know, someone might turn around and say they earn $20,000 in a month selling their book.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you that they probably spent $12,000 on marketing to make that $20,000. You know, so
$8,000 in a month.
It's a risk assessment. How much are you willing to spend to make the money back?
Yeah.
Or what are you capable of spending to make the money back? You know, and for me, my focus is get the editing done professionally because that's the core of the book. Okay, the cover, I think I can knock together a decent cover. It's not going to be a Wild Spirit cover. Come on, seriously, check this out. Look how gorgeous this cover is.
Yes. And the inside of the book looks really lovely too.
Oh, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. It's look, if I had the money, oh yeah, big time. But
Yeah.
I don't.
I think I want to do stuff like that with Project Space.
Yeah.
I'm leaning very much towards trad publishing. Like, I'm leaning very much towards getting some alphas to help me fix it and then, like, submitting places.
Yeah. Those with the money have the ability to make money easier. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It is definitely. And it's with any business, the more you put in, the more you're going to get in return.
Yeah. And that's so because by making arts degrees so expensive, they're limiting the access to the arts to only the people who can afford to pay $100,000 for an arts degree, which means that the people going into arts degrees are going to be from very wealthy backgrounds, and the majority are possibly going to be from more conservative backgrounds and are going to want to support things like highfalutin opera and like the fancy stuff.
But also too, though, we also have to clarify this. An art degree in Australia isn't just painting, drama, writing, ceramics. It also includes
history, literature, philosophy, political science, criminology.
Yes,
all sorts.
A huge amount of effectively professional courses.
In Australia, a Bachelor of Arts is basically, it's not like just creative arts or whatever. It is, and there are some degrees that are specifically called creative arts degrees, but it is a humanities degree. So it is looking at like way more than just painting or theatre or singing or whatever. It is looking
I
at
actually think my diploma of equine studies horse breeding is considered art. Yes, I'm a qualified thoroughbred stud manager. And I can tell you there was nothing creative in that course. But I do think it is
very creative pooper scooping.
Oh God, those things. They cost money going in, they cost money coming out.
Oh yeah. They are very expensive. I don't know where Blake is tonight, but he's a money muncher.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should probably head back inside soon because the light is like just gone.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
you got to get over that fence.
Like it's actually not that dark. I wonder if I turn my brightness down, whether it would even it out a little bit. Let's see. Nope, I'm just gone. You can see my
the reflection of your glasses. That's it. Oh, that's interesting, Eva. A lot of corporations do offer education reimbursement in the States. Makes it even harder to grasp the whys behind our low pay and lack of education. Look, if you're in a company for a long time here in Australia, you can actually go and do courses for the company. I ended up doing a certificate for in training and assessment when I was working for a bank because I was going to move into the training department. Long story, didn't end up moving in there. But yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting that the businesses that value the training are still the ones that turn around and don't necessarily pay people the amount of money. But if you were being paid enough money to do your job, you could then go off the bat and go, well, I'm going to go do some better education for myself to get better at what I do, which would benefit the company.
Yeah. But then if they pay you well, like, then they're losing money. So if they don't pay you well and they just pay for you to upskill, they're like, oh, well, then we're saving money and we're getting all these skills that we should be paying more for cheaper. Yeah. But what they don't realize is that the person is upskilled and then can just walk away from the company.
No, you can't, because usually when you do a training course through a company, you will sign an agreement that you will not leave the company for a certain period of time.
Or that you can't use the skills, like the record label deals. Like Kesha got caught into, she wasn't allowed to sell any music for like years because of the fucking label owned everything that she created for a certain amount of time.
It's the same with publishing and authors. Who was it? It was a Daniel Green was talking about it on one of his. Daniel Green was talking about it on one of his fantasy news. There was it Tracy Hickman? But someone of that caliber was saying that they were having trouble. They gained the rights to their books back, and they had them up on Amazon. But people had actually copied them and were effectively stealing her sales. And she had reported them over and over and over again. I know it was a she. I just can't remember what author it was.
Oh, I know who it was. No, it was. Wait, was this the Women Don't Owe You Pretty book?
No, it was definitely a fantasy book. It was definitely a fantasy book. And but the problem was, and then all of a sudden her book got taken down and she got notification and she was in breach of copyright. She's like, but it's my book.
Yeah. No, this happened. So there's an interesting case going on at the moment. You can look into it. I sort of stopped following it because it became way too confusing. It was a bit of a clusterfuck. But there was a black woman who's written a book on feminism, and then a white woman was heavily inspired by it and basically retold and stole the aesthetic as well, used the same aesthetic, retold basically all of the feminist theory from this other book, adding in her own experiences as well.
Yeah.
And then the publisher or someone who's promoting the book has bought Google ads under the name and book title of the black author, so that if you search for her book, this white woman pops up first.
But that's not necessarily the author's fault.
No, but like when they got called out for it, her entire team, they were managed by the same like brand deal company or something, and they dropped the black woman when she spoke out about it.
There was a big one about a year and a half ago. Was it about a year and a half ago? There was a group of American black women had come together and written, I think it was a recipe book. And then something similar happened. A white group or a publisher was like, effectively commandeered it and did it their own way, but it was different enough to not be the book.
Yeah. So it's hugely problematic in copyright infringement law and in plagiarism law, because if they prove a certain amount of difference, then they can't be legally done, and they can't get done for compensation. So
it's about 10%, I think, in Australia. I don't know what it is in the US, but it's 10% different.
It's different. Yeah, the law is different depending on what country you're in. So it's really really shitty of these like white people co-opting and basically plagiarizing this work, but because it's slightly different, they are legally right. But what this black woman was saying was that I don't have the ability to, I can't take it to court on this because the system of law has been designed to protect white people and not black people, and so it will not be like a fair case. So yeah, it's and so they've made like there's like hundreds of thousands of dollars profited off this white woman's book that's basically plagiarized, and that's why everyone is now like trying to shut up this other author who's been sort of trodden on to get the book. So
also true though, I would actually hazard a guess to ask is I know in the AuthorTube community there's a lot of thing about titles and names, and be careful about having a title that's too similar to someone else's. But when you jump on Amazon and actually have a look at titles, there's a lot of books out there that have exactly the same title and they're in exactly the same.
Even in traditional publishing.
Because traditional publishing,
the amount of books have a title that's like The Girl on the Something, or The Girl in Something, or The Girl Something, or The Girl whatever, The Girl whatever, The Girl on the Train, The Girl on the Page, The Girl in the Book, The Girl in the Sentence.
My question is, how much of that is a marketing decision by someone in the book, in the publishers, in the publishing team? If someone searches for The Girl on the Train, which was very popular for a while there because of the movie, this book pops up.
Yeah. But that's also, they can buy marketing space under keywords in Google. Google can do that. So what was happening with his other case that I mentioned was that they were profiting off of this other author's name and the name of her book by buying out the ad space under those keywords
and then redirecting it to the other book to
advertise this other book that was basically the similar subject matter, knowing that a lot of like particularly white people looking up feminist books would then default to the one written by the white woman out of unconscious bias.
Okay, if I've had a recommendation for a book, I Google search the book's name and this book pops up, I would assume I'm buying the book that I was recommended.
Yeah.
I would have no reason to question, is this really the right book? For instance, I don't know whether or not you're up to date with the Business of Making podcast, but what the girls have decided to do is they're doing a book club. And Yeah, it's a business book club. I'm actually thinking I might grab the book and join in. But the February book is a book called The War of Art.
Mm.
And I'm blanking on her name. The mum. She apparently bought the book because it was a similar name. So she was started listening to the wrong book. But
Oh my
that's how easy it is. Particularly if you're listening to it on Audible.
Yeah, particularly if you can't remember the name or whatever.
Yeah, so it is very easy because there's a lot of, and I think, and sometimes I think, and marketing too is a big thing, is how many of these, how often does someone do this and feign ignorance? I mean, how many, just for the marketing, and not saying that for the case of this black woman, that sounds very, very deliberate to me.
Very deliberate. Also, the author of the other book who is benefiting off this is sort of feigning ignorance, but she's got a whole team of people behind her. It's Traditional Publishing, who are very aware of what is happening, and there is not a lot of doubt about the fact that she would know that she's benefiting off this because she wrote the book that basically ripped off the other book. And she supposedly hired a diversity reader. This is another funny thing, because it knows in her knowledge regarding the Black experience. But if you actually look at the credits in the book, the diversity reader who they hired was specifically a diversity reader for disability and LGBT issues, and says on her website, "Do not hire me for race issues. This is not what I cover. This is not my experience. I am not a diversity reader for this." And so they're just like, "Oh, you hired a diversity reader, but not for the race stuff? Interesting."
But also, that's a look good. That's a good part of marketing is putting in one thing and just leaving out the bit that you don't want other people to realise, But and that's dodgy sales tactics. I mean, that's the dodgy secondhand car salesman that doesn't tell you that ding in the back of the car is actually the fact that it had been run up the arse end by another car and they've knocked it all back into place. It's and I think that's also too is I think what we're talking about here, really, when we boil it back to being paid as a creative, is this is business. This is business taking over a creative endeavor and enforcing business practices on it.
It's business taking over creative industries with profit to the business, but not to the creative industries. And it's usually much deliberate.
Yeah.
It's very rare when stuff like that happens that it's not a deliberate profit scheme.
Exactly. And I think, and that as well is essentially devaluing the work. It's okay, look, okay, the white woman's obviously taken inspiration and probably needs to go have a look at where she gets her inspiration from in future. But she's been encouraged by business to do this.
By the publishing house, by the agents and the representatives, and they've all been aware before the book was published that there was huge similarities to this other book.
Also, too, though, also, this doesn't get talked about a lot, is it is not uncommon for a publishing company to have certain people on their payroll, certain authors that they sell and they know sell a lot of books, go to that author or that author's agent and say, "We want you to write a book about this."
Yeah, I think it's a slightly different situation because the person who wrote the second book is not an author. She's an artist who was offered a publishing deal about this thing. So it was that publishing going, "Hey, write this book like this." But rather than sort of maybe recognize where she should maybe not be writing about certain stuff and be recommending resources, which I don't think the book had much of a bibliography at all, she's basically co-opted the work of someone else.
Yeah.
And
Which
palms
is,
it off.
and that case notwithstanding, because that is very clearly wrong. I do think there have been some people that have been caught out because the companies come to them and said, "We want you to do this." They've gone and done it.
Yeah.
Not realizing over here is someone that's already,
Publishing is short with issues like that because publishing is business. There's a recent episode of Writing Excuses which is really good, which is called "Publishers Are Not Your Friends."
No, they're not.
It goes into this detail, like the people, yeah. Oh, all right. Hang on, I've got to take a plate back. Let's just bring you guys with me. So what it goes through is
Don't forget to reactivate the fence.
Yeah. I might come inside now, so give me a second. I'll just grab my stuff. Oh god, I'm stepping in bloody goat shit. And I didn't put shoes on. Lovely.
Those in the back porch.
Huh? Oh fuck.
Yeah, Eva, I think if the first book had been better known, popular, or a bestseller, there would have been no doubt of the theft and no success would have come from it. Exactly. It's people taking advantage, seeing a good idea and taking advantage of it and getting a name they know they can sell.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the point of a pen name? Isn't that why everyone, oh, yes, you've got to have a decent pen name because you've got to have a name that sounds like an author? And I'm saying that in inverted quotes because...
Well, I know mine sounds like an author because there's already a fucking author called Charlotte Armstrong.
Which I don't see a problem with. I see, this is the thing is, this is where we're different. I don't see a problem with that because as far as I'm concerned, that's your name.
Yeah. See, I also don't mind per se, but I actually prefer initials anyway. So
yeah.
Sorry, the signal.
Yeah, but it's probably known as Charlotte Armstrong, but you're on your book. You'll be CR. Which is fine. That's a way to distinguish what you're doing.
Yeah. And also, I prefer personally. I prefer looking at my book that says CR Armstrong on it than looking at my book that would say Charlotte Armstrong on it, because in my head, my association with seeing my name on my book has started years ago with seeing my name by a different person on another book. So even on stuff that I've written, seeing my full name on it, I'm just like, oh, that's written by someone else.
I even went to school with someone called Stephen King and Danielle Steele.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, I hope they didn't want to go into publishing.
Yeah. Well, look, there aren't some names I think you just got to say, yeah, I can't use that name. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, look, for instance, I originally, when I first started writing, I always wanted to put, for my fantasy and sci-fi, I always wanted to do my initials with my surname because my maiden name was Shaw. So I would have been R.A. Shaw next to R.A. Salvador.
Nice. You still should. You can still publish under...
I can, but I prefer... No, I just prefer to use just my married name. I'm married, But
well, stubborn bit who, even if I got married, probably wouldn't change their name.
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
Sorry, I got distracted by a whinging child.
Yeah, I got distracted by stuff. It's warmer in here. Now I'm sweating.
Oh, Jesus. He almost just went first off his bed. He did the other day. He's got the biggest bruise on his forehead because he just went thunk on the floor. We don't know because it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I think he's just like rolled out and gone crack on the floor. And all I heard was from his room to our room because he's now tall enough to open the doors.
Oh no, poor little bugger.
Poor mummy. Mummy doesn't get to sleep in anymore.
That too indeed.
Yeah, even it was like always wanted to self-publish. In the prospects of self-publish not being so accessible when my writing started. Look, to be honest, when I first started writing and I wanted to self-publish back then, it was not what it is now. Now it is a profession. It is most definitely. There are people out there that will just chuck whatever they've written up without getting it edited, whatever. Da, 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 da. But these days is if you want to make a business of it, you make a business of it. So I actually don't know if self-publish is the right term. Independent,
maybe. Yeah.
So
independent publishing is what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, because to me, self-publishing is in the early 2000s when all this first started. I mean, you used to have to, send your book away and get like 1,000 copies printed, and it'll be sitting in your garage and all sorts of things. But now you've got this ability to get access to editors, to freelance for you, book cover designers, layout designers. It's an industry in itself. And I just, and if you do it professionally and approach it from a professional point of view, you might not get everything done like by getting experts done it. But if you approach it from a professional point of view, I don't see it in the same way that self-publish used to be.
Yeah. I think there's now 3 categories. There's self-published, independent published, and traditionally published. Because to me, independent publishing means that you have got a professional cover, professional editing, that sort of thing. Whereas self-publish is more you just whack it up online sort of thing.
Well, it's sort of the difference. It's sort of the difference to me between a company, Kmart, commissioning a Chinese factory to make ceramic pots for them, and a mum at home on maternity leave teaching herself how to make pots and then starting to sell them on Etsy and turning it into her business.
Yeah.
And then there's the amateur who just goes, oh, I've never done a course of, oh, he whack it here, here's a gift. Here's a gift, So
it's a pop for your bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah. It's interesting. There's multiple different sort of categories, and every situation has its own unique set of criteria almost.
Yeah. But also, choose. I just look at it from the point of how professional are you looking at it. If you're treating it like a business, tracking your funds, you're tracking what you spend, you're tracking everything. You're being conscious of what you spend to try to make money out of it, to make it a living. To me, that's a business.
That's a business.
If you just want to share what you're publishing, nothing against that. But you just want to share it. You just want to see others enjoy what you're writing. It's not a business. It's just
it's just a way of putting it out in the world. It's like I would classify
Word. Like that, Eva. I like that name.
Bookend Lane.
Already got your own set up. It's called Bookend Lane.
Oh, nice.
What's that?
All right. I feel like we should create a stream bingo, and I'll tell you when we are off air what I just successfully checked off in stream bingo.
What's this? One of your small press kids book. I want self-pub, some cover options such and run with kids books published. There, it's like it's you just got to choose what. To be honest, in my opinion, when it comes to, you just got to choose what you are capable of. If you think you're capable of designing a cover and printing a book and all that sort of stuff, do it. But if you think that you need to outsource stuff, that's the whole point of being a business. With a business, well, in our case in Australia, an ABN, we can go and outsource it. You can claim it on tax because that's what
we do, you know.
Got business expense.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, Brandon's got a random question. Do you guys? I think he was trying to say, do you guys use a pen name?
Or it could be like, to you guys, is a pen name, yes or no? So like, is a pen? It's basically the same question, but would you use a pen name? Are you using a pen name? Sort of thing.
I think I have a pen name.
are on,
I have a pen name.
yeah, I think we're both on
R.A. House and Renee House. They are all pen names.
technically. C.R. Armstrong is a pen name as well, because
It's a pen name.
Not my, well, like it's.
I go by Renee. I don't go by R.A. House. I don't go by Renee Ann House. I don't go by, you know, I go by Renee House, but, you know, but when it's still a pen name. It doesn't have to be a completely different name to what your actual legal name is to be a pen name. It's just going to be what goes on the cover.
Yeah.
Renee Rant.
How am I holding signal wise? Because my signal has gone from 5 bars to 2.
Gone inside.
Yeah. Am I still fine, or have I started getting choppy?
No, you're good. You're good. You are a little choppy. You're not too bad.
I'm in a different spot to what I usually go. I often go over at my desk, but I've just sat on my bed now. Yeah, I think this is a completely random side note, but I think we need to make a stream bingo with the group chat, and then we have to see who who wins. I have several ideas of stuff we can add on. So I'm actually going to write that down because I will forget. So making money as a creative, that was our original topic, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, we're still talking about it. I mean, because it's at the end of the day, it's all tied in. It's the perception of art and the perception on and how it is, you know, taken in society dictates how people feel about it. Like, there are some people in the handmade industry that don't even tell their family that they are making and selling stuff for 6 to 12 months. You know, and they could have very successful businesses selling necklaces or something, yet they're too embarrassed to tell people they're making money from it. You know, which is
why society is fucked.
I'll go with that.
That's a good way of summarizing it. Yeah, I find it interesting as well because I was talking to my friend about it today. Because at the moment I'm doing a cabaret because A, I just needed the brain change. B, it's a great title, which I'll tell you after as well. Don't forget to say. But also because I've got another year on my lease, I want to move back here where I currently am for the weekend and start building a cabin and working full-time in creative industries. And the cabaret is the thing that I like. It's in the industry that I have the most experience of making money in compared to doing YouTube and online stuff. It's also the industry that I would rather end up in. So I would rather be a professional cabaret performer, live performer, than a professional YouTuber, as much as I enjoy doing YouTube sort of thing. But also because I'm hoping that this show will start kicking off with performances and start making money about 5 or 4 months before my lease ends, and hopefully that'll be around the time that I'll be looking at ending with my current employer, who I really like working there. I really like the people that I'm working for. But if I want to move back here, I obviously won't be able to continue working in Huntingdale because
and a good job doesn't necessarily mean it's your dream job. Let's be honest.
And
You know,
look,
I make my dream job.
it take a lot of my energy, even though I can listen to books and stuff. So it does suit me very well, but it is also minimum wage. Yeah, it's not a high earning job. It's a day job while I do arts. That is very much what it is, and it is like it's taken a while for me to get as good as I am, to the point that a new person coming in would not be as good at my job as I am, but it's the sort of job that other people would be able to get as good as I am with the same amount of time, probably. And I would probably stay on long enough to train anyone who was going to take over the job that I do, because there's a lot of different aspects that I think they would have to get someone to cover, because I've taken on basically multiple different roles within the company.
I've been doing my sums for maternity leave, and I've literally said to my boss, you know, I'm due this date, but they have literally told me they will induce me early, and it might even be up to 2 weeks early, because I have gestational diabetes because of the health concerns. So you need to get someone in at least 6 weeks beforehand so we can train them properly.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why
they might not be there for the last 2 weeks. It might only have 4 weeks, because what would normally happen is they would normally say, "Oh yeah, Renee's not going to this date, so we've got plenty of time." I was like, "Well, no, it might be 2 weeks earlier." You know, and I'm not, and I'm hoping to not. Well, I've actually pretty much worked it out. I'm going to be taking about 9 months leave this time instead of 4.5 months. Oh, we've just lost Charlotte. You need a stronger antenna.
Yeah, no, I dropped for a minute on my back.
Yeah.
You started going a bit freezy on me, and then I realized it was me buffering. I'm back up to 3 bars reception now. So hopefully I should be less like a stop motion animal.
Stick your phone near the window or something. Stick your phone near the window or something.
That doesn't really help usually, but like this sort of middle of the room is usually okay.
Yeah. So I'm looking at taking about 9 months off. So I'm turning around to them and saying, you really need to you don't just pull someone in from one of the showrooms and get them to sit in the seat. Get a contractor in, because 9 months is a long time for my coworker to not have someone that they can rely on sitting in my chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know? And look, let's face it, at the end of the day, in an ideal world, I'm going to use mat leave as a time to get my shit into gear and try to get the novella and the novel out. And if I can make enough money from them, not go back. But if it doesn't work, I've got a job waiting for me at the start of 22.
So I'm doing very different, because I'm moving back home. Like I'll be paying off mortgage instead of rent, because I'm not going to live rent free.
So yeah.
So I'd be moving back home, so my expenses would be a lot less. But while I'm on the higher wage, my plan is to save up at least a year's worth of expenses.
Yeah.
Basically doing what Kate Kavanagh did, saving up a year's worth of expenses for everything. I need to do a proper budget to work out how much that is going to be.
You need at least 6 months. You need at least 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, because if in 6 months you haven't started making money, then you know it's time to
start looking for work.
Yeah. And that's sort of the create. That's from like the handmade business industry sort of mentality. The 6 months is a good chunk of time to know if you're going to get there. You know,
I have multiple options as well, because there's also, because I haven't done it yet, I can do the NEIS program course as a performer theatre maker person because I haven't done that yet. And that would give me another year's worth of income on top of the year off that I give myself. So I might even do that for the next year. So even though I've got the savings buffer, then I've got the need for an extra year.
Well, that means you don't dip into your savings for 12 months. It would
Pardon?
mean you don't dip into your savings for 12 months.
Exactly. Yeah. And it means I've got more of a slush fund there to start doing like the cabin and stuff like that.
For those not in Australia, do you want to explain the NEIS program?
So this is a government program called the New Enterprise Investment Scheme. And it basically is, I think it's 6 weeks of business training. You have to do you have to have a business plan developed and it has to be approved. And then it is basically to help incentivize new startup businesses. And you can do it as anything. So you can do it as a sole trader in an industry, as long as you have a business plan and you can show that this is your plan to start making an income, you can do that. And that was how I first sort of well, my dad did it at one point. So I'd known of it in the background, but I was first introduced to it as an idea from a person who came and spoke at university who had done it as a freelance stage manager and director, I think it was what they'd done. Something along those lines.
And you end up with effectively a payment, like a job seeker, but you don't have to look for work.
Yeah, so it's the equivalent of the welfare payment is given to you for a period of a year, as well as business training and business stuff. And I'll have to ask a couple of my friends who did it this year about what the process was like, because it gives you a year of income and they want you to be having a business turnaround of about 10 grand by the end of the year. I think it is like a profit of about 10 grand.
Or at least be on to it. See, but the thing is the problem, I've looked at it for myself as well, but the problem with the course is, to me, it's geared very much to a modern entrepreneur job. So someone who wants to import something and sell it or whatever, or one of these, you see the ads for the Amazon guy, stop. If you want to make money on Amazon, you got to listen to what I'm going to tell you, that kind of guy. Because when you're dealing with creative businesses and handmade businesses, you can't expect to see 10 grand in profit, possibly for a couple of years.
Yeah.
You might see 10 grand in cash flow, but not in profit.
Yeah, and it also depends at what point you are entering the NEIS scheme, at what point of your career. Because if you're 3 or 4 years in, the likelihood of you turning a 10 grand profit in a year is a lot higher than if you're first year in, year out. So because I've got a couple of years out of uni doing professional industry shows, the likelihood is a bit higher. But also because I have a plan to actually be doing I have a show that I'm developing this year that I'm hoping I'll be able to tour with it, basically, and take it to all the different fringes and to take it around wherever I can take it, basically. So hopefully that will be a bit of like a profit grower, and that already in production will then influence that business plan course, because I can be running one show while creating the next one to put into production.
And even they're talking about he was talking about not having a job, being home. But if I'm on my own and doing something just for me, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. You know what, Eva? I'm a mum and I feel that every time. I sat down today and I managed to get about 500 words edited. Only 500 words on my manuscript edited. But I felt like I should be doing something else, because
You know, I had my son asleep. I had Mark asleep down here because he refused to nap and he ended up crashing in front of the Wiggles. Don't judge me. You're going to have a break somehow. And I think that's also part of the creative problem. What we're talking about here is that when you are doing something creative as a career or as a or making something to sell, in a way you are making it for yourself to begin with. So it feels a bit guilty to then try to sell it at a profit.
So I've had this conversation several times recently, and I can't remember whether I've already said this on the stream yet today. But this was a sort of creative crisis I had about 2 weeks ago, before I had actually put the first, like, some of the first steps of getting this cabaret going was pretty hard. And I was having a bit of a rough crisis about, this is what I want to do, but I feel like I can't do it. I don't know, sort of thing. But one of the things was basically what you just said of, this is a show that I'm writing that is entirely autobiographical, that is just me performing. And for the last 5 or so years, about 80 to 90% of the work that I've done in the theatre industry has been backstage work, and it hasn't been performing. So all of the professional contact people that I know and have worked with recently know me as a designer or as a backstage person, not as a performer. Having this, like, oh my God, how can I possibly have the gall to ask these other professional people I've worked with to come and do a show where I'm performing and it's entirely about me? It's so self-centered. It's just like entirely autobiographical, and like basically there's no other way of putting it other than the show is entirely about me. How can I ask people to go and spend their time investing into this show when they've never seen me perform before? They don't even know if I can do it. They just know I've designed a few cool lights this one time, maybe. And so that was the sort of, like, it's not what people think of you, but it is the internal dialogue that you have to battle.
Exactly. And like, you know, it's the you know, I've sort of, I found it very hard with my jewelry, but I've had a lot of practice now. And now I do tell people, I just say, all right, I have finished a book, you know, because it's taken me a long time to own what I've actually achieved. And I still, like, as I said, I felt guilty today. My son was asleep, crying out. I had that half an hour to myself, and I'm sitting here thinking I should go do the dishes. But the dishes aren't going to get me where I want to go, so that I can be self-employed, so I can bring money into the house and I can make our living. And to be honest, one of the key things that have gotten me off my ass and actually made me feel like I really need to do this is because I want my son and my daughter, when she's born, to see the fact that you can make a living doing whatever the hell you want.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's part of the reason I've survived this long, getting into the industry from like a working class background, with everyone often in schools and stuff saying, oh, you won't make any money of that, is because my family involves a kindergarten teacher. Early childhood is tragically and systematically underpaid, but she absolutely loves it. And a musician who was a person who was a professional musician for about the first 30 to 40 years of their career. And so the model that I am working to is different, because the model that I've grown up knowing is people who went into industries that they were passionate about and still made a living off of it. And sure, it's not as easy, but there's a lot more value to be had in the work than there is in just going and getting an office job that you hate for 40 years to hopefully fund a retirement one day.
Can you hear that? That's in his sleep.
Mm.
He's asleep.
Oh, poor Babs.
We got a growth spurt happening.
I've got a vanity artist.
I'm trying to find last year's Business of Making survey. So you guys have heard me rant and rave about the Business of Making podcast. I love it. But they did a survey last year and they're doing another one this year. And I'm actually going to participate this year. Last year I didn't have the business running, when this year I do. And they actually did a survey they called it the handmade business, but in my mind it's creative business. But they asked these questions, when did you start? How many hours a week do you put towards your business? How much money, average sort of how much money do you pay your bills using it? All that sort of stuff. And very interestingly, as Yaz has put up, in business, you're losing money for the first 3 years. Fourth year, you'll be even. Fifth year, you should be making a profit. Yeah. Yes and no. They found that if you put a certain amount in of hours and time and effort, you can be making that profit earlier, but you've got to have the time to do it.
And you've got to be focused on prioritizing that as a goal. Because if you're going in not valuing your own work and not charging properly for your own work, you're going to be less likely to be making your money in the first 5 years, if ever.
Yeah. Look, Eva, 2020 was a bit of a loss for everybody. I don't think anyone can blame you for that. My financial year is July to June. I've got 6 months still, and I still reckon my first financial year with this business is going to be a joker because I'm due in May. So I've got baby brain up to May, and then I've got baby at home brain for at least six to 2 months. So yeah, it's you just got to move on.
Work got. Yeah.
Work on what's not working and not do it, and do something different.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I think quite a lot of people have heard me semi-rant recently already, but that's the whole thing that I've sort of put out there recently, is that like I don't want to be a full-time author. That's not one of my goals. I enjoy writing books. I would like to have them published, and I would like to write them, but I want to do that at my own pace, and particularly with the AuthorTube narrative, that doesn't fit so well. I
don't subscribe to the AuthorTube narrative of write them fast and write and get them out. But also, too, one thing I've noticed is a lot of that narrative is based on what romance authors do. And one thing I've noticed about romance books is they're not beasts. They're not science fiction and fantasy mongwok like that. They're usually around about 50 to 60,000 words.
To be fair, my book is about the length of a romance novel.
But that's fine. That's fine.
Novel, so yeah.
But it's and there's nothing against it. I don't mind reading a shorter book. I'm really loving the shorter books at the moment. We just finished reading This Is How You Lose the Time War, a novella. We've got Stardust, so technically a novella. I mean, I just picked up.
I listened to it the other day, but I think I need to get a different version to listen to, because I think it was kind of like abridged a little bit more.
I got the version with Neil Gaiman, and I am driving to the country to see my brother and my sister-in-law tomorrow, and it's a 2-hour trip. I know what I'm going to have on in the car. But I'm not saying shorter books are bad. What I'm saying though is I think people are seeing these authors and traditionally published authors in the romance genre, Harlequin books, for instance, they will pump them out 4, 5 books a year. But you don't have to do that to be a successful author.
There was a Writing Excuses episode recently that really made me think about this, which I think is what kind of triggered the whole.
See you, Brandon.
Bye, Brandon. Bye, Bioda. was they were talking about how you need to work out what sort of author you want to be, and in terms of she's gone. Basically, you got to look at what you want your career to be. Do you want to be the person who publishes 3 books a year, or do you want to be the person who writes at the rate that they write at while doing other things like Mary Robinette Kowal does with her puppetry and audiobook narration and stuff like that? No. No. Hello. Hello, Sleepyhead. Hello, Sleepyhead.
Cat fur on his face.
Hello. Good evening, Mark. He's going, she's back on the screen. Okay.
He was having a nightmare. So I've kind of half woke him up because he was actually sitting up screaming, but his eyes weren't open. So I'll deal with that shit. Child has to be.
Yeah, we do not want the possessed child.
So yeah. So you're talking about how you don't have to be. You got to choose what kind of author you want to be. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So there was a Writing Excuses episode where they had Don Juan, someone on who's like an agent or editor person. Anyway, one of the things he was saying is like you don't have to be that author who does 3 books a year. You could be it's perfectly fine to be the author who does 1 book and then a few years later does another book and then a few years later does another book, or like the Harper Lee who does 1 book and then doesn't do another book because you don't want to. If you structure your career in a different way and do other things, that's perfectly fine. And so that's more what I'm leaning towards with.
And also too is I also feel though that there's a big thing about marketing takes a lot. You've got to take the marketing aspect into this, because a lot of the advice you get on AuthorTube is based around marketing, and it's not based around books. It's based around, and that includes using certain books that are formulas to write your stories.
Yeah.
And plotting is a formula of a description. You know, the whole point of plotting is to write faster. You know, that's the whole point. So I think a lot of the advice is given initially starts off as marketing, but the people that are giving it don't necessarily realize it's a marketing thing. And that idea of fast release is a marketing thing. It's using the momentum of one sale to build on a second sale, to build on a third sale. But I trust my readers. If they read book 1 and they enjoy book 1, and I don't get book 2 out for 12 months, I trust that they're going to be interested. If they were interested enough to sign up to my emails, and I send out an email and say, "Hey, book 2's out." I mean, I used to wait 3 years for a Wheel of Time book.
People are still waiting for the next George R.R. Martin book, as far as I know. The next Game of Thrones book was meant to be out like 3 years ago, and it's still not out. People are still waiting.
I stopped reading Wheel of Time because when Robert Jordan died and they didn't know what was going to happen with the series, I went, I'm leaving it. I'm not touching it. So I only got up to like 5. But now that it's been finished, I want to go back and read them all. Yep. But I am not touching Game of Thrones until he finishes that series, because I'm not going through the author death like that. It was horrendous, because these books are chunkers. I mean, they are a significant portion of investment of time.
Oh, yeah. And that's partly why they take so long as well. Like, there's no one who advice when it comes to writing books and what you need to
invest mummy's time to read all those books.
Hey, if you're writing the next Game of Thrones or Brandon Sanderson or something of that size, it takes quite a significant amount of time longer to write and to edit and to get it to the same
50,000 word novel. Yeah.
So there's a 50,000 word romance novel that's very fast and very short.
Romance novels, by their nature, relatively standalones. So even if you have series, they tend to be a series that follows maybe a group of friends or a couple of sisters, because they're happily ever afters. Okay, and
Formula is often
to some.
the main in the first one, like the best friend is then the main character, or the sister is the main character. And
I was going to attempt a summoning technique and say SJM, her book was originally the Beauty and the Beast retelling. And guess who was already in chat before I could actually get the words out?
Join in, Emmy. We need you.
We need you, Emmy. We need your rants. But you know, for all of the issues in that of her books, the first book was apparently a retelling of Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Should have made it. Which should have made it a happy ever after. But then she's gone and written a second and a third book, and the happy ever afters no longer a happy ever after.
Yeah, no, it's like, fuck this guy, let's go for someone else.
Exactly. So, you know, you can sort of see why romance needs to almost be a standalone when romance is the main thing. I mean, when you have a romance in a fantasy or a sci-fi or a contemporary book, it can. There is no problem with characters finding their happy ever after, because it's only a side part of the story. There's all these other considerations that they have to deal with.
Yeah, I'm severely battling the urge, like, for one of the character arc in like my book is getting scarily close to a friends to lovers trope, or like an enemies to lovers trope, and I'm just like, that is not what I intended for this series, and I'm trying to like steer
use it
a little bit.
if it works, or just make them good platonic friends.
That's more what I'm
friends. I mean, you know what I'm actually trying to figure out at the moment is in the novella, the main character in the novella ends up effectively being sort of like the strong arm of the pirate crew of my main novels. His name's Eric, but Eric has a good, strong friendship with the main character, and I'm trying to figure out how to show that better, because I want them to have that strong friendship where they trust each other completely, despite the fact that she's an absolute nutcase, but he knows she would never hurt him, sort of thing. You know, is this very interesting? We've got crossed arms and everything down here. You know, so, you know, and that's what you aim for. Maybe aim for a friendship.
Well, that is what I'm aiming for. I'm just like, I kept seeing like their reels on Instagram that were like the enemies to lovers trope reels that were really cracking me up, but every time I saw them it reminded me of these two characters, and I was just like, oh dear, what am I doing? But also, like, I do really like that trope, but it is a trope, and I was hoping to maybe avoid being a little bit tropey, but yeah, I am definitely leaning more towards it being not as much. It's more like enemies to people who say they're not friends but are basically like friends.
Well, you know, it's like it's like, okay, to use a very popular culture reference, it's the relationship between Yondu and oh god, Star-Lord. What's his name? Quill. It's effectively a father-son relationship, but through the entire first movie, and I'm from memory, it's in the comics too, and he's literally, I stopped the crew from eating you. You owe me big time, you know. And it's like, no one normal thinks that's, you know, a favor, you know. But it's that but they have that relationship, which you see obviously in the second movie. That he raised him. He was his dad. You know, he may have been his blood father, but he was his dad.
But also, the reason that he didn't deliver him was because he found out what was happening to the kids that he was delivering, and he was just like, "Oh fuck no!"
Oh, guess what? We have a wild Emily sliding into the stream.
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay, or really muffled?
No, you're fine.
Okay, and is the fan annoying? Because it's fucking hot in this room and I'm dying if we turn it off.
I can't hear it.
We spent a good 15 minutes at the start of the stream whinging about how hot it was in Melbourne today, so you're fine with the fan.
Yeah, while getting licked by a goat, so don't worry. Oh, shit.
Being licked by what?
The goats.
Oh. Oh, now she's frozen. I booted her off.
Oh, my God.
Oh, we can still hear you. You could always just turn off your camera.
I don't know whether you guys... I think you guys are frozen again.
Is it me or is it?
No, it's her.
Okay.
So we've
She's on
had
the farm though, hey.
a good 2 hours rant about creative and being paid as a creative.
Mm.
And whilst we get Charlotte back, hey, you right there, Bubba?
My lighting is a bit off because I thought I had my ring light plugged in, but I don't apparently. So I have my shitty overhead light on, but it's fine.
I have my LEDs on full because Mark figured out how to turn them up and down the other day, so he's been playing with them.
Fair enough.
He's missed the buttons. Yeah. Someone figured out how to turn the TV on, the Blu-ray player on, and to get Wiggles running.
Ah. Smart boy.
Yes. Now, have you settled yet? Can you go back to sleep? Yeah, sleep.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
bedtime. It's like, no, what are you talking about?
Go like this, which is his move for do the propeller.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it? Hey? Do the propeller. Do the propeller. He goes, nah, I'm not going to do it, Mum.
He looks so grown up. It's been so long since I've actually seen him like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, where are you going? Where are you going? Do you think you're going to go turn the TV on?
Yep, it's Wiggles time.
Come on, well, don't wriggle off Mummy's lap. Not that there's much space on the lap at the moment. Oh dear. So how are we going? We've got very gothy. That looks good. Yes, he knows exactly what buttons to press.
Mm.
Yes, he got a haircut at Christmas, but it's grown out now. I'm going to have to go get it cut again. Yes, we've got to go get this.
I love this. Did you see what he just did with his hand? Have you been watching Star Trek?
No. This is his favourite song. Mark? Rock and roll preschool. No, you're not going to do it. Here we go.
Yeah.
Rock and roll preschool. He's a little headbanger. He's a headbanger.
Yeah. I'm so happy Aiden is out of the wiggle phase because I could not handle it anymore. I feel sorry for my parents because Wiggles was like my life when I was a kid. I still have my Wiggles towel that I had when I was 4.
I was too old for Wiggles. So what is it? Come on. Where are you going? Go sit in your couch.
Yeah, I think my parents wish I was too old for Wiggles, but Yeah, I had a crazy wiggle phase. Like
He's
it
dancing.
lasted for way longer than it should have.
You gonna dance? Do the propeller. Do the yeah. Here we go. Go run, play with your toys. I'll put him back to bed in a minute. We almost have a Charlotte back.
Almost.
Oh dear. So yeah, we've had a very long. We've actually stayed relatively on topic, which has been interesting. But we've been chatting about sort of it's also I think the perception of creative business and sort of why it sort of seems to be this thing where people get paid or feel funny about charging what they're worth.
Yeah, I think I'm like the worst person to have this conversation because I just hate receiving money in general.
Yeah.
Like I've said many times that I think the only reason my parents keep me on the books at work is because it's the only way I accept money from them. Because I have done, like, apart from paying for my TAFE course, because I was a high school student when I went to TAFE, so like I had no money. Apart from paying for my TAFE course, I've done everything else myself. I've never had any help from my parents. I think the only thing they've helped me with Aiden is buying his most recent car seat because I bought everything else myself. And like mum
insisted on paying for the meningococcal because he went to care at 4.5 months old. My mum just turned around and said, I'm paying for it. I don't care what you say, you know, because I'm the same. I'm quite an independent person. But I think it's that's a good question, Eva. Is it just money, or do you struggle to receive in general?
Oh yeah, I hate everything. I hate it.
Yeah,
hate it. Yeah. I insist on paying for others.
yes.
I have a friend who's a very, very talented artist, and I love all of her drawings. And she really wants to like give me, like, every time I comment something, I'm like, oh my God, I love this drawing. I love this. I love that. She's like, oh, I'll just send you one. I'll just give you one. I'm like, no. I will buy it from you when I have the money.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
Also too, though, is I think also we understand how much work is involved in that kind of thing too. When a lot of what we've been talking about is sort of, there's this perception, usually in bigger business and society as a whole, they don't actually understand the workload behind what it takes to create something. So they, of course, to them, they just look at a picture and go, well, you just sat there and drew it in your spare time, so it can't be worth that much.
Yeah.
I just love how Charlotte's name just keeps getting even more and more frustrated.
Like, it got to the point where I managed to log in and it was still choppy, and I went to put my phone back on the tripod and accidentally hit leave, and then it wouldn't reload. I just refused to reload. I had to try and like Chrome app instead of the Cozier, and then look, screw it. Okay, I'm just gonna flip like this.
Oh, so you got the hookups.
Let's see if I can get it back on. And then I tried putting hotspot on my laptop to get the stream up on laptop. And at the time I had done that, it had loaded on the phone and let me back in. And now it seems to be working, while also hotspotting to my phone. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to turn off the Wi-Fi on my laptop.
Sue's on the warpath with you, Em.
What did I miss?
I know. She fucking hates me.
Other than 10 minutes of my life that I'll never get back.
But I'm the worst. Like even when I had my makeup business, because I've put that on hold. I just hated people paying for it because it was something that I just enjoyed doing. I just liked doing it.
About Emmy not wanting to do Patreon.
Yes. Yes. Well, see, that's the thing too, Em. Okay, so with the makeup business, okay, it is a creative endeavor in creative business. You said you had trouble asking for money because you enjoy doing it, which is something we actually discussed earlier. Is because you're enjoying doing that, you just don't feel like you should be charging for it.
Yeah.
Was there a certain amount of imposter syndrome too, thinking maybe what you're doing isn't good enough? The exact example.
I think definitely.
Oh, I've frozen.
Yeah. Yes, you have visually. Your audio is still coming through, or maybe not anymore. But yeah, I think it was definitely some level of imposter syndrome as well, because I wasn't like, I didn't go to school for it. For anyone who's not Australian in the chat or watching, in Australia, you don't need to be formally trained to work as a makeup artist, and you don't need to apply for a license. I didn't even finish it. I did an online course, and basically did like this is how you keep everything clean and don't spread germs part of it, and then ignored the rest because I already knew how to do everything else. And my sister's a makeup artist, my mum's a beautician, and now my younger sister is a makeup artist as well. So like I already had all the knowledge there of how to keep everything clean and what to do and everything.
You guys around the dinner table, all you talk about is techniques on how to do the eyes.
Yeah, exactly. So all of that, the rest of the kind of stuff, I was self-taught basically. So I think because I did it that way, there was a certain level of like, I don't feel like I can charge for this because technically I don't have a certificate or anything. But I don't know. I think it was also just like with makeup, it's so weird because it's so kind of intimate in a way, you know, like I'm touching your face. I'm right in there. So it was almost more of like and then like, you know, when you're sitting, you're not just like quiet all the time, you're chatting. So it's almost more like you're hanging out with a friend, like you're just having a girls' night and doing some makeup. And it feels weird at the end of that to have a cash exchange or to, you know, then put money on it. And it's like, oh, I thought we were just having a good time. Like, so
there's Eva's put a little thing up saying it's not wanting the spotlight. There's this thing that Australians have. The entire country has what they call tall poppy syndrome. To a degree. I mean, there's some people that don't have it, but it's no one in Australia has tall poppy syndrome. You don't want to put yourself up. You don't want to put yourself out there. You know, you don't want to be seen as that pushy person.
We're a very self-deprecating society.
Yes, self-deprecating. That's perfect. Yeah. Marketing to those with money feels odd if you grew up without money. Yeah.
I would definitely agree to that with that.
Yeah.
I think also for something with makeup, like me and my sisters just used to play with makeup all the time. So then kind of putting that on like, oh, now I'm doing makeup on other people and they're paying me for it felt weird to me because it was something that I used to do with my sisters. Like, you know, just for fun. We'd just, you know, grab mum's makeup and do makeup on each other and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. But also it was just something I really liked doing. So I felt weird then taking money from someone for it.
You see, when I was
like, I'm going to be doing this anyway. So like, what's the point?
I've never liked makeup. I've never played with makeup. To me, it is a chore, and I would have to pay someone to do it.
I've had so many clients like that. Because I've always kind of been like, oh, you know, like I don't charge much when I do makeup. I'm like the cheapest makeup artist in my area. I charge $45 for makeup and $55 if they want me to include false lashes.
That's cheap.
So yeah, fucking super cheap. And, you know, obviously when people come in and they see my setup and everything, they're kind of like, oh, why don't you charge more? Why don't you, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, because I do this for fun. Like,
Yeah.
I feel bad charging more. Also, I don't use expensive makeup. So I kind of would feel even worse charging the regular amount when I'm using drugstore makeup or cheaper makeup. It's all good makeup, but
that's also something that we were talking about, is because the people that feel like they're doing it for fun and the people that feel like they're doing it as a hobby as opposed to a business, as a sense, do end up devaluing the other people, because you know you're charging so much less. You're like, well, why would I go to so and so who's charging me $80 for this when you can go to this person who's charging me $50?
yeah.
And it sort of as a whole pulls the whole industry down.
And I always had that too in my head of just like, I feel bad that I'm so cheap, but I can't bring myself to charge more, because also they had to come to me. So there was no travel kind of fee involved either. So yeah, I justified it to myself.
But that is a justification. Yeah. If they have to physically come to you, then that is less of a charge on them, because they're the ones doing the traveling. You're not traveling house to house. So that is definitely a consideration.
Yeah. And I mean, the usual cost for a home makeup artist, so someone that you go to, is usually about $75 for the cheaper end. But you would still find that they would use high-end, expensive makeup, whereas I was you come to me makeup artist and also using cheaper makeup or affordable makeup. So
if you kept at it and took it up and started doing like that professional makeup and that, you would put your prices up.
Oh yeah, but I would probably still offer the two prices. Like I would be like, if you're happy for me to use these cheaper products on you, it's this much. If you want more expensive products because you think they're better, they're not.
Yeah,
you can pay this much. You're very welcome to. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was tricky because like I felt bad being so cheap because I had other makeup artists in my area that charged more. But at the same time, I also had them stealing clients out from under me. So I kept my prices low as kind of a fuck you for everyone that stole my fucking clients from me.
Sorry, guys. He just saw the empty chip packet. Bubby. It's all gone. Mummy ate it all. Because he's gluten-free, I've really struggled to find food he can eat. So occasionally I'll let him have one or two chips. Oh, we found one. Oh.
You missed one. The gluten-free twisties are really nice.
He loves them.
They're so delicious.
I call them barbecue rings, but they're not. They're like cheese rings. Yeah, he loves them big time.
They're nice. I can't have them now. But.
That reminds me, I have a muffin. So I'm gonna go get a muffin because I want to eat the muffin.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's hard. It's like
Sorry, it's turning into a horror movie.
Mate, it wasn't like the night when Charlotte went out to fix her bloody hot water service. Just after we've all read the story of Tat.
Right. I'm now in the bathroom because I was being licked by goats and then washed my hands. So you guys can go. Do continue.
We're just very distractible.
Yeah. I keep going to use my mouse, but I can't. And I also can't click messages up. Basui says, but you also hate when people misrepresent the industry. Yes, I do. but also, like, I think it's tricky when it comes to things like makeup because there can be such a price difference in the products that you use. But when it comes to things like going back to like the art industry, and when you get to, you know, actual artwork or design, you're very limited and things are very expensive and there's no alternative for high quality stuff. So when it goes back into that, the art realm, it's like, no, you pay what they fucking tell you to pay or you get the fuck out. But with makeup, I guess, like if I went to a makeup artist who was charging $120 and their pictures on Instagram and stuff looked amazing, and I was only going to be there for 45 minutes and they were going to do this amazing makeup look on me, but then I went there and they were using drugstore products, I'd be like, what am I paying for?
Yeah.
What's this $120 for? But if I go to a graphic designer and they're charging, I don't know, let's say minimum $800 for a cover, I'd be like, okay, that's a really good deal because I know how much all of that shit costs. I know how long it can take.
Well, when we were talking about covers earlier, I had a quick look at Enchanted Inks. Natalia Lee's just announced cover design, and $800 US is sort of their top tier for a hand draw, sort of like an illustrated cover, so a custom illustrated cover, which for us in Australia would be around about $1,200.
Yeah, pretty average.
So to me, that's very acceptable. And I just got crumbs spilled all over my arm. Okay. You want to feed mummy? Okay. Apparently, baby, little sister's hungry.
Yeah, $800 is pretty standard.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly acceptable. But
it's still definitely on the cheaper end.
It is, yeah.
It's very affordable. But what I don't want to name names, but I watched a video recently of someone talking about covers, and they basically said you shouldn't pay more than $300 US for your cover. And I was like, if you want to get a shitty cheap cover, then yeah. But
if it had been qualified with don't pay more than $300 US for a pre-made off-the-shelf cover from the designer, would that have been more acceptable?
Yes, I think so. If it was a pre-made, you know, it has, you know, could have absolutely nothing to do with your book kind of thing, yeah, that's a fine price. But if you're talking about a custom designed book cover for your book and you're expecting to pay $300, get the fuck out. Get out. That's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. And this particular person that said this, their book cover was absolutely fucking stunning. There was obviously custom elements in there. There was 3D elements on the cover. There was, you know, custom fonts being involved. It was a lot, and it would have taken a lot of work. And for them to say, oh, I love my cover, but I was overcharged for it. I did some digging. I found the company that they said that they used, and the most they would have paid was $800. That's a very fair price
for a custom cover.
Really, really fair price. I googled the average cost of a cover, and it was about $1,500.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it pissed me off a lot. And even like talking to Kent recently said in the Discord chat, he's just found a designer that he likes that he's decided to go with. I think they came up with a deal for three books and I think some fan art, or some artwork as well. And I think he said he was paying about $1,500. And I was like, that's a fucking good deal. He was like, yeah, I know it is. So, you know, like
someone charging that amount There might be an illustrator that wants to get into book cover design. Maybe you don't have a lot of history. Maybe you don't have a lot of back catalogues that they can show people as examples.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
charge slightly lower. But, you know, professionals that have been doing it for years have huge back catalogues. You know, you can go to their website and see their amazing work. You can go to the book and see that it's selling or whatever. 800 is a good price for a single book.
Yeah, definitely.
Phoebe Wood, who's on AuthorTube, but also has a painting channel for like digital art. She does book covers. If you go to her website, she's got her rates for the different art that you can buy off her, like commission. I'm pretty sure the commission price for a book cover was around 500.
Yeah.
I can't remember which currency, but it was around 500. And I was like, yeah,
I
that's
usually do US. If I can't see a qualifier, I'll say US dollars because
because she's in the UK, so it might have been pounds.
Oh, which is still pretty pricey for me.
Yeah,
Still, that would still average out to about 800 Australian.
Yeah, her commissions ranged from, she had like examples of what you would get. So with one piece of art that was cropped in the different ways, and it was like a commission of whatever design or whatever. And so you had the different size ranges, and what the most expensive one was the full book cover where she's provided all of the stuff. But I was like, yeah, that's really good. And like, if that's the style of art that you really want on your book, that's absolutely like a full price.
And there are a lot of artists, especially on Instagram, that really, really undercharge.
Yeah.
Like, you can get a full, like a full A3 sized portrait of a full body portrait of a character. And some people are only charging $160, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? You should be charging more than that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think there's a lot of
But yeah, Stu says charging $800 to do a bride's makeup. Yeah, overcharging is bullshit as well. And I think people need to be careful of overcharging. Like, if I was to go into covers, I would probably have, I'd maybe give a year and a half of lower prices to build up my portfolio.
And the more you do, the better you get at it as well. And the quicker you're able to do it.
Exactly. So once I can offer more services of it and get better at what I'm doing and, you know, develop my skills and feel like I'm at a point where I can charge more, then I'll charge more. But to start off, I think you have to kind of be affordable for a while and build up that portfolio. The second you have the portfolio, though, you fucking hike up your prices. That's how it works. If people aren't happy with that, too fucking bad.
In any industry. My brother is a carpenter. He builds houses. He needs to put his prices up at the moment because he's getting too much work. And he is better than the amount that he's charging, and he's getting too much work because he's too cheap and he's really good. So he needs to up his prices so that he can pick and choose the jobs that will be more suited to his skills, and therefore have to do less work to make a better income, basically.
Yeah, and Gil, up the prices.
Sorry, guys. We can open our door now, so I.
But also, Natalia Lee has said, I can't remember in what video it was, but she was talking about her editing services, and she said her prices will increase as her skill level increases. And so if you book in now, you will get the current price, even if by the time she edits your book, the prices have been increased, because they are being increased by small amount as she levels up in her editing skills. And that, I can't remember what video it was in, but that was like the way that she explained it. And it was like, it's a really good way of talking about it. It's like, you're not only paying for my time and my materials, you're paying for my expertise, and I have put this many hours into getting this.
And there's also to add on to that as well. There's also this thing in handmade business as well, is if you're selling something for $20, just $20. If you're selling something for $20 and you've got 50 orders a week, this item at $20, and you can't keep up with your demand, increase your price to 30.
Mm.
You may only get 40 sales at $30, but you're making more money and spending less time making.
Yep. Yeah, they go over that really well in the Business of Making podcast, even in only like the one episode that I've listened to so far.
That's where I get it from. Those girls are gold. They really are. But it's true when you think about it. You put your price. You've got this huge demand. You can't find time to scratch your ass. So you put your prices up. You'll get less sales, yes, but you're making more money.
Mm.
And yeah, you're not losing business because you are valuing your skills, and the other people buying your products are valuing your skills at the same
Jess
level
has
that
this
you are.
great story. Jess has this great story. She had this plan. She was going to get through the Christmas period. This is, I think, 2016 or something. Yes, I'm ignoring that screaming. I think it was like 2015, 2016. She had in her head she's going to up her prices with her jewelry business after Christmas. So she'll get through Christmas and she'll up her prices. And she was getting so many orders, she just had a meltdown, jumped onto her Etsy store and upped every single item on the spot. And you know what? Her sales didn't decrease. In fact, I think they increased from memory from this story of hers, because people looked at me, well, I'm buying quality. I want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a perception. Like I bought a piano the other day, like an electric keyboard piano. I paid $700 for a piano rather than paying $150 for a cheaper model, because I know that like I will get better the more I play it, and the better the piano is, the more I will want to play it. But also the same principle that I used when I bought my microphone is like, this is something that will last me a very long time and is useful in the industry that I am working in. If I have a portable keyboard piano and I want to do a cabaret show where I play piano, it means that it opens up a lot of venues for me to be able to go do a show in that don't have a piano available. So I can take the show to more places and not have to worry about, does this venue have a piano or not, because I can bring one if they don't.
Yeah, it's like Deep Purple. I bought it with a view for using it for audiobooks, because there's no point in me to buy a cheap one now and then in a year's time having to upgrade to another one. And yes, it's not plugged in at the moment because the power's behind my work laptop and it's all piled over there in a pile, which actually has this book sitting on top of it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually
You're a decent chunk through it.
Sorry?
You're a decent chunk through it.
80 pages into it already. I'm actually surprised. I don't really like YA anyway. But, the perception of value is you've got to, and that's the thing is, and that's like what the Business of Making girls try to put in people's heads with when it comes to handmade businesses. And I think it's very translatable over to AuthorTube as a whole and other creative endeavors, is don't be afraid to put your prices at a decent amount, because you might get less sales, but you're going to end up with more profit, which is why I'm seeing people in my Facebook groups talking about putting their first book perma-free, their second and third book at $2.99, their fourth and fifth book at $4.99. I'm sitting there going, hang on, there's a reason when and all the other big publishers sell their ebooks at $9.99.
Yeah, for me, like I don't read a lot of indie books, which is bad if I'm going to end up being an indie writer. But
I haven't until this year, until last year and this year. I've only recently increased my collection of indie books.
yeah, I'm trying to get out of that idea that, unfortunately, I've had a bad experience so far. But I'm trying to get out of that. Oh, indie publishing or self-publishing is bad. Because obviously that might be the route that I end up taking. So I, got to do it right. But honestly, if I see a book for free or if I see a book for really cheap, I assume it's bad. That's how it works. If it's $5, I'll maybe be like, okay, yeah, could be decent. But if I see it for like $2 or something, I'm going to be like, nah. Clearly the writer isn't comfortable in it, or they're not making sales because it's bad, so they've lowered the price.
I've just put in Where is Baba up as an ebook. Now I've made that $2.99 because it's a kid's book.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the physical printed book is only $9.99.
Which is a fair price.
Which to me is a fair price for a kid's picture book, which has only got about 18 pages in it all up. But I'm not going to be putting my novels and novellas at that price.
No way.
Because that does not, to me, reflect the actual workload in them. I actually spent a while ago, I actually went through and I thought, okay, well, what price points do I want? And I've written what I think I'm going to do with my novellas, short stories, and novels. However, I have to wait until I go to print it and find out what the print cost is going to be.
Yeah. See, I've printed this. I know how much it costs to print a book. If I self-publish this shit, there's no fucking way I'm putting this at like $10 or $5 or something. Like, no fucking way. I know maybe it's a little bit like, I don't know, poor form or pretentious or whatever, but like if I self-publish this, it's going to be a $25 to $30 book.
Yeah, but there's a reason why in traditional publishers, there's a reason why your what do they call it, the trade pub is $15 to $18 to $20. There's a reason why the hardcovers can be as high as $35, $40 because they're expensive to print.
Yeah,
and they're still going to make their money on top of it, and yet then you see the indie pubs, and they're selling like. Okay, you got to sell your print book at a price that you're going to make some money on. So it's fine. But ebooks, they then dump the ebook down at such a low price, and you're going, no. I'll be back in a minute.
He has escaped.
Yeah. Look, I've gotten a couple of books when they were free, like on promo. Definitely with that. But I also haven't bought the sequels. So
yeah, see, I think it's that thing. It's that mindset of like, I got the first one for free. Why should I have to pay for the rest?
Sorry, this is the nightly battle at the moment to get him down. It normally happens at around about 7:30 to 8:30. But yeah, okay. Yeah, so if you see the first book for free, and then you go to say that author's got another series and their first book is not free, why would you buy it? You would wait until they make that one free too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And like,
I don't read ebooks at all.
Nah,
so
I can't.
That's part of because I got these free ebooks, and then I either didn't read them. I think I've read like one, or I started reading it and then I didn't finish because it's an ebook, and I don't like reading ebooks.
I have a ridiculous size Kindle, and I have a ridiculous size Google Play books like collection, and I think I've maybe read 2 books out of all of them because I spend all day staring at the screen. Last thing I want to do is this when I'm reading. I'll listen to an audiobook in the car, love it.
or when I'm doing washing or cleaning or whatever around the house. Audiobooks, fantastic. But I'm finding I need to sit and read.
Yeah. I think the only ebooks I would get would be comics or manga, because that's how I've always read them. That's the only thing. Like I
can read them.
have a whole shelf of manga here,
Yeah.
but I feel weird reading them in book form because I've always read them online.
I've read a lot of manga online too, and I agree with that. I can read comics on screen, and I think it's because when you're looking at a comic, you can narrow it down to that one strip.
Yeah.
So it's quite easy to consume. Like I've got all my books are in storage at the moment. I've got this beautiful graphic novel called Light Than My Shadow. And it's an amazing book, and it's chunky. It is, and I paid a lot of money to get it from Katie Green from the UK, and Katie Green, and but if I'd been able to get it online, I would have bought it online and read it because I am a lot more comfortable. Yes, I'm a mother.
I've been there.
We've all been there. Excuse you.
Yeah. I've been there.
Oh yeah. So I have read a lot of fan fiction on screens, and now one of the things that happens if I try and read an ebook is my brain is kicking into fan fiction reading mode.
Yeah. So you're like, God damn it, there's not enough sex in this.
No, but like I can't tell whether the book is like good for an actual book or if it's just good for fan fiction.
Yeah.
Because I'm comparing it on a different scale, because I'm so used to reading like you're used to reading manga on screens. I'm used to reading off AO3. That when I'm reading an ebook like that, my brain keeps going, particularly if it's a YA ebook. I'm sorry, it's just extra in that sort of, a lot of fanfic tends to be sort of YA style written.
Yeah,
it is. What YA is, I think YA is becoming just fiction because it's just, we're not a society of big readers anymore, like high intellectuals or anything. And I think, and there's a lot of adults out there reading YA. I mean, hell, I'm reading a YA book at the moment.
Yeah. But I think that's also because the YA genres had a bit of a, I mean, it's hard with the Australian market as well because we don't have the new adult section. It's just not a thing here. Whereas in America, there are a lot of books that we class as YA that are actually in the new adult. But here they just get shoved in the YA section.
Yeah.
But in saying that as well, YA from Twilight releasing, YA has matured a lot. Even some books that I pick up now that are YA, I'm like, whoa, calm the fuck down. Chill. These characters are 17. Like it's, I hate it when people say it for the Six of Crows series because it makes sense in that series given the time period it's loosely set in. But
Vampire Diaries? Anyone?
There's a lot that you're like, these characters are 16. They should not be doing this shit. This is like, it's too much for them. Like a lot of the Sarah J. Maas stuff, I hate to bring her up, but a lot of the Sarah J. Maas stuff is like, why did you make these characters so young? And I think it's because she just...
Because it sells.
It sells, yes. But also she was kind of the first one to put graphic sex scenes in her books. But the Court of Thorns and Roses series, which is the most graphic of them, in the US is a new adult series. It's not YA. But here it's YA because we don't have new adult.
See,
Hmm.
I'm actually struggling to work out how old the main character is in this. Because
Isn't
she's-
it Athena?
No, it's not Athena.
Oh, I thought it was the.
No, Athena's in it. Athena, the goddess, is in it, but the main character.
Mm.
I think she might be early 20s because she.
Yeah.
You know.
So again, it's young, it's new adult, but we don't have new adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm actually enjoying this a lot more, is because she's very obviously older.
Mm.
I mean, she's living on her own. She owns a building that was gifted to her by someone that died. But she's, obviously you have the absent parents because you've got to have that happen. But but it doesn't read like a 14-year-old off doing adventures that the parents would be crazy to let them go do.
Yeah.
It doesn't read that way. It reads like a oh shit, she's stuck in this situation. The only way out of it make
Which, to be fair, is pretty much what a lot of YA is now. It's like I have this adult premise, but the adult section is so filled with this premise. I can market it to these guys. I'll just change the characters from like 23 to 17.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, and then but once you change the age, some of the things that happen end up being very on the nose.
Yes.
When this one feels older, they've never said her age. I don't think I've missed it, but it's not pretending that she's 16.
Yeah.
So what'll probably end up happening with that, and probably the reason why it's YA, is there won't be like graphic gore or sex or that kind of thing. That's pretty much what YA is now.
We've already had a knife wound. I mean, it's not in your face, ripping out people's guts and stuff, but it is pretty, not gory, but it is definitely in your face with violence.
Yeah.
With a lot of video games and stuff anyway, kids exposed to, and movies and stuff, kids are seeing that a lot younger. Anyway,
but see, this is like, this is the issue I'm having with mine. Because I'm like, I don't know where the fuck to put it. I have no idea, because what is the definition now? What is the difference? Like, I have a friend, one of my friends out in real life she's in the process of, she has a mentorship with a publisher at the moment. And she's written a kind of urban fantasy. Is it urban fantasy or is this just a crime? I don't know. She writes a lot. I think this is just the crime one, but maybe it is also fantasy. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, it's like a murder mystery type thing. And she's being told by the publisher that her writing is too adult and that she needs to, demature it. I don't know fucking what the word would be. Kind of work on it and make it more YA.
Yeah.
And
is she aiming to write YA, or was she aiming to whatever?
No, so she's aiming for YA.
Yeah, I find that YA is sort of written a little bit differently in the way that they use language.
Well, see, I don't know about that, because I've read a lot of YA recently, and now reading like Addie LaRue and Brandon Sanderson and some of the other adult books I read last year, there's not a lot of difference in the language now.
Yeah. So,
which is that YA is dying, because I think eventually it's going to be fiction again. So when I was growing up, so yes, find your own adventures, yes. But what I think is going to happen is, when I was growing up, you had your kids' books, your young readers, that sort of stuff. You hit about 12 and it was just fiction. You had your crime fiction, your realism, you had your sci-fi fantasy, and that was it. And I think we're going to start going back to that.
Yeah.
Because this could have been, so far, like, I mean, I'm not changed. I mean, I'm only a portion of the way in. But I could have happily found this on the science fiction and fantasy shelf and not anything different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by like me being so confused about mine, because now that I've read both sides of, I guess, the spectrum, I don't know where mine fits because I do have graphic violence. I have, like, I hate the term sex on the page, but I guess sex on the page, and other stuff, and graphic details and horror elements and all of that kind of thing. But reading newer released YA fantasy books, they have all of that too. And then reading adult fantasy books, they have all of that too. So I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. See, and also
it's hard.
The big confusion for me, and Yaz has just actually said exactly what I was saying in the comments, but the big confusion for me was when I was growing up, the sci-fis and fantasies always started with the young farm boy, farm girl equivalent in sci-fi, getting thrust, being the chosen one, getting thrust into an adventure, not knowing jack shit about what. It's all right. He just tipped half of his Duplo out. But then you go and read a YA, and it's a kid finally finding out that he's the son of Zeus or whatever, and he's got these powers, or his parents are super spies, and he has to go and save them. Or something. There was not a big difference in the baseline story. So, this is where I always get confused about YAs.
I think
Excuse me. Real break. And that's why I get confused when people sort of say, "Oh no, that's a YA and that's not." I'm like, okay, are you talking about word count here? Because yes, this book's 200 pages long and this book's 2,000 pages long. Is that the difference? Because it's still about a farm boy going off and having adventures. Yes. You are happy as a pig and shit, aren't you?
Why did I hear love on the brain as sex on the page? No, I definitely said sex on the page. But anyway, yeah. So, like, this brings me to my whole, like, we should have the new adult section, like, because I feel like it's that upper age group to, I mean, I don't know. I feel like young adult is the stupidest fucking thing. But we also kind of don't have a mid-grade here.
What's this?
YA covers everything from middle grade to pretty much adult.
Yeah.
And I think what it comes down to a lot of the time is that it's not a writing category, it is a marketing category.
Yeah.
And so depending on where the publisher thinks, particularly if it's traditionally published, the best gap in the market for this book to fill is at the current time of it being published will depend on what they classify it as. So if there is a book coming out like yours, Emmy, that there's some really similar ones in YA, but there's not one in adult, and they think it will sell better in adult because it's more unique in the adult category, then they might classify it as adult. Or if they think, oh, it will do better in YA because there's already a market for it. I
fucking love this kid, hey? He's just like copying Renee. We should all just sit like this.
Yeah, they're laughing at you.
But yeah, so it's where they think it will sell better is where they will classify it as. It won't necessarily, like, a little bit will come down to content. Obviously, if it's got hugely graphic stuff like Altered Carbon, put it in adult. I don't think they're going to put that in YA. So some it is more clear. But when it gets down to the ones that go either way, it becomes sort of where they think it will sell best.
Yeah. See,
that to me though is when I was growing up, I just went to the science fiction and fantasy section in my local bookstore. Now, if I wanted to get a sci-fi fantasy book at 14 years old, I've got to start in the YA section, and if I don't find anything there that I like, then I have to move over to the science fiction and fantasy section. I'm like, just put it all in one area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, what gets me, so It's also different in Australia. In America, they have completely different rules. In Australia, we're a lot more lenient. Because so going back to my darling, Sarah J. Maas, so she came out with her first adult book last year. I didn't finish it, but I read enough, and I DNF'd it.
Was that the Crescent City?
Crescent, yeah. The only difference between that and her YA books was drugs. That's it. But how many books in high school did you guys have to read that had really explicit drug use? That were YA books.
My literature class.
Or I don't think that. Well, the ones that I had to read for university and for school, I don't think they were classified as YA because they were in the literature or the English course.
Yeah,
but they were like.
Well, see, I was just in the standard English class, and the books that we read that were, I assume technically YA because the characters were like 15, 14, had explicit drug use, had explicit sex scenes, had, and then like I read, you can't see it, it's like right in the corner here, but Invisible Boys by Holden Shepherd, which is a semi-new release Australian book by an Australian author, that has extremely graphic sex scenes and sexual content and drug use and trigger warnings under the sun. But that's a YA book. So then, like, my friend going through her publishing thing and being told, oh, but this book is it's too adult for the YA section, blah, blah, blah. She's like, well, okay, I get what you're saying, but have you read Holden Shepherd's book? Have you read Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas? Have you read Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas? Like, these are YA books and, blah, 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 blah. And her publisher's like, oh, no, that's like, whatever. But it's like, but how can it be that different?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like it depends what publishing house you go to. And I feel like it's the inconsistency that then makes it difficult for people. Like me coming into it and being like, I feel like my writing style, like my prose it's very simplistic. It's very YA. There's nothing special. I'm not going to talk myself up. I'm very blunt. I'm very to the point. There's no pretty floral language. But then the content of it is a little borderline. But then with Sarah J. Maas's stuff, I'm like, it's in line with that. So, like...
But you see, though, the thing is, I don't necessarily think an adult book needs to be so ridiculously high in prose. Yes, you're copying Mummy. I know what you're doing, young man. To actually be an adult book, and it's it's the concepts that you're dealing with. Now, okay, YA to me started as coming of age stories. Okay, coming of age story is the classic backbone of a fantasy novel. So the only difference between the YA and the classic fantasy novel, the year it was published in, to me. And it's all about marketing, because they've got there's this perception now that adults read as much as they used to, so let's go market it to kids. Oh, is that so? You want to be in on this conversation too? You really should be sleeping, young man.
I just realized we started going onto a tangent about publishing categories when this was originally a chat about making money as a creator, as a creative.
It was going to happen because it's where I'm at right now. It's where everything goes for me.
Well, you know what? We're talking about books. I'm pretty sure this is the book. I just looked it up whilst you were talking. I'm pretty sure this is the book that I had to read as a murder mystery. The Monkey's Mask. Have you guys ever heard of that one?
Monkey's Mask.
By Dorothy Porter. I'm pretty sure this is the book I had to read as my murder mystery in my speculative fiction in uni.
People start going crazy and someone commits suicide or something.
It's written in poem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not Monkey Paw. I know what you're thinking of, Charlotte. It's not that.
I'm thinking of different.
No, it's literally, it's based in Sydney and it's written in prose.
Oh, no,
But
definitely.
actually a poem. Yeah, but it's the same thing. Like, they would put that in literature class because it's literature, but it's technically an adult book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I read several crime novels and like books about serial killers in Perth and stuff like that in literature.
Talking about serial killers in Perth. Sorry, it came up on the news today. Did you guys hear about the Bernies in the 90s?
Yes.
Their house just sold. And it's so funny because my friends and I have had like a running joke because when my friend was looking for a house, she toured that house and she didn't know what it was. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the Bernies house. But it just sold like today.
Ooh.
And it was like all over the news and stuff. Yeah, that was. I wouldn't personally want to live there. It was really cheap though, and in a really nice area. So maybe.
We were upstanding citizens.
Yeah, but yeah, it's fucked.
Yeah. But yeah, what was rated R when we were kids is mostly M now. Yeah. Like,
but then, to be fair, fuck, what was the movie? It was on the tip of my tongue. Oh, I love this movie. I can't remember. I can't believe. Oh, Stand By Me.
Yes.
That was PG. That movie should not have been fucking PG. I watched that when I was like 8 and I was scarred for life. I love that movie. But
I've only ever watched that movie once. And I've only ever watched Grave of the Fireflies once. And I love Grave of the Fireflies.
I still haven't watched that.
I put it on and I turn it off again.
Yeah. But there's if
that had been a live action film, that thing would have won awards.
Which is bullshit. It still should have won awards.
Yeah.
Lord of the Flies, yeah. Well, we did a book, and I went to a very, Catholic all-girls private school. You wouldn't believe it. And we did a book called In Ecstasy, which is about a 14-year-old girl who develops an addiction to ecstasy and starts like stealing shit from her parents and selling it to get drug money. She starts using sex for drug money. And I'm just like, well, I am 14. Yeah, I think that's what it was meant to be, but like, it's a bit like that's what we were reading in high school from, and that was a YA book, or I guess, I don't know. I think this was before YA was a thing, really, because YA came in when I was in like, I think the later years of high school, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's what that was about. And we read another one about a girl who was trying to commit suicide. It was a John Marsden book. So Much to Tell You. I loved that book.
So Much to Tell You, yeah.
Loved that book. We read that in year 8.
Yeah.
13. And then we read another one that was pretty much the same thing, but it was I can't remember what that book was. But that was really good as well. But it's same kind of premise, a really, really depressed, borderline suicidal girl moves in with her auntie, and like I think it was Australian as well.
Cult. Was it Marsden as well? The one with the cult, the girl in the cult that escaped. Is that So Much to Tell You? I think it might be. No,
So Much to Tell You was the girl who wouldn't talk, so she would just write like letters, and she was put in like a psych ward.
Yeah, because the one
The one I'm thinking of is she's raised in like a secret cult, and they got the wall around the house and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of it.
I don't know. I don't read a lot of contemporary, I guess is what you would call that. I only read that for school.
Yeah, Eva. Active shooter drills.
Yeah, we didn't.
What I said earlier, like with the media that kids are consuming is very different as well. Like, so
yeah, there was no such thing as do the propeller when I was a kid.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the genres. Yeah, it's interesting because there's a very blurry line between YA and adult that a lot of books fall in the middle that could go either way, and it just depends on what publisher or what marketing category they reckon it will sell better in.
The only issue with what I have with it is because I honestly couldn't care less like what category my book goes into. Don't care. I think it'll, I mean, I don't want to sound like weird and up myself, but like I feel like it would do all right in either. Probably would do a little bit better in YA to be honest, to be completely honest. And the only thing that bugs me about it is that there is that weird kind of I can't think of the word now. I had it and now it's fucking gone. I don't know. People are really judgy about YA. And that's the only thing. Sorry?
There's like a supposed legitimacy about being an adult author.
Yeah. I think that's what it is.
Like, I'm an adult author, and their books are basically YA with fuck every second word.
Yeah.
Novel.
But yeah, like I think that's the only thing that gets me with YA. And because there are a lot of fantasy readers that won't read YA, and my world building, I've put a lot of fucking effort into it, and it's quite expensive.
And that's where yours would probably be put in adult science fiction, because it is a fantasy, and there isn't a lot of YA pure fantasy. A lot of YA fantasy is, was it magical realism?
Yeah.
You know, where it's in this world but with magic elements.
That was Alexa Dunn's rant on YA versus new adult versus adult, which was saying if new adult is a category that doesn't exist in traditional publishing, according to her, other than in romance. So if you've written a sci-fi or a fantasy with a character who's 15, she's like, or like something, she's like, you've either written a YA one, or I think it was like, you've basically written an adult novel, because those genres typically often have younger protagonists anyway. So particularly in genres like sci-fi and fantasy, we may end up in adult, even if it's close to YA, because we are very much in the genre that allows for younger protagonists and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's another element.
Yeah. So for mine being on that border of like, could be YA, could be adult, I'm kind of like, if it gets put in either one, I lose a group of readers that could potentially really like it. So that I think is the downside of it.
I would say you're more likely to lose readers if it's in YA, because if it's in adult, people don't give a shit about, like when I was growing up, I read Lord of the Rings when I was 12 years old. I didn't understand everything, but I read it.
And
So
also,
I would have had no problem going and picking that book up off the adult section. When I probably would now, I wouldn't even bother going to the YA section.
That's
because I'd also, if it goes in YA, sorry to cut you off again, Charlotte, but if it goes in YA, I pretty much lose all of the male readers I could have, because a lot of men or males don't read YA books because
They all read
YA
sci-fi.
is mostly female-led books.
Mm.
So, I mean, mine is majority a female character, but you know, there is a male character in there as well that I
Majority
think would be appreciated.
Which is
Yeah.
a little bit ambiguous.
It switches point of view eventually. But
I had to. No, but yeah, that's what I was gonna say is like when you're a teenager as well, if you go and read stuff from the adult section, you feel like a grown up and you want to be a grown up when you're a teenager. So like you're not really missing out on the teen audience or the upper teen audience if you're published in adult, because they will go into the adult section. There's nothing stopping them going to the adult section to get books out.
No,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
what he's doing now. I was trying to figure out what he's doing. He's doing Rockabye You Bear.
Yes. He's going, hand in the air, rock the bye, bear.
That was Aiden's favorite song.
See? He knows them.
The children have been indoctrinated.
Yeah. My favorite is
Done proofs.
oh, he's got. No, he's not going to do it. I'm trying to get him to headbang.
We have a rock version or like a metal version of the Legend of Zelda music that Aiden likes to listen to. And he headbangs in the car to that. It's great.
Oh.
Oh gosh. We've kind of gone way off topic. Should we finish up soon? Past
Yeah,
midnight.
yeah. It is 12 o'clock and I have got a long
Yeah.
trip ahead tomorrow. And I've got a long night ahead of me trying to get this one to sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
But once the fun's over, he'll go straight to sleep.
Yeah, and he's not ending up on Mummy's bed tonight. He got on there the other night.
Oh, did he?
Yes. And I was too tired to take him back to bed, so he just went, and I went. Yeah, so I think really what we've. God, I've just realised how tired I am. It's sort of. I think at the end of the day is I think as a community we've got to be a bit more aware of the workload involved behind creative endeavours.
Mm.
Mm.
I would say, and I think the education of that to other people. Like, I won't lie, I have been in a market, I have had my goods, and I literally had someone turn around to their friend and go, "Oh, don't buy that. You can make that from stuff from Spotlight for about $10."
Mm. Yeah,
Like,
but
actually, no, because this is sterling silver.
Mm.
I know Spotlight doesn't sell sterling silver. Well, they didn't back then. They do now. But, it's sort of, people don't have any idea about the value of what they're looking at a lot of the time. And I think marketing plays into that. In going back to books with permafreeze, with the discounts, with the sales stuff. I think that's marketing playing into the fact that people don't actually understand the workload.
Yeah.
And they're just looking for a bargain.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 I think people definitely don't like after doing my graphic design course, I had a whole new appreciation for book covers and how much books cost. And even I paid a stupid amount of money for a CD because the cover that it came in was like a book. It was they made a book. It was an Australian band called the Siren Tower. They are amazing. I highly recommend them. They're a local WA band. And I just found them because I saw their band poster on a window of a pub and I liked the design enough that I was like, I'm going to listen to their music. And they had one song out at the time and it was fucking amazing. And I bought their CD because it came out in like a little mini book, like a hardcover book. but it was like $30 just for the price of the case. But I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to pay that. I just finished my graphic design course. I know how much they cost to make that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get a whole new appreciation for how much things cost when you know how it's done. Which is
I think
probably why
portion of people don't. And that's
which is why I'm going to make a video kind of breaking it down almost, you know, the process of how long it takes to make a cover, how to, you know, I might try and like, I don't know if I want to try and make this again from scratch, like the whole thing and record the whole process, or like
the very, very rough mock-up of just the idea I've got at the moment. That still took me 2 hours to put together tonight.
Yeah.
And it's nowhere near professional or finished.
Yeah, it's like you try and sell your book with that,
No way. It's nowhere near that quality, you know, but it's just an idea of what I'm playing around with. But it still took me 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, it's like the do I have no, I don't have my printed copies on me. The Season of Darkness cover. Like
copies?
Oh no, I printed out like just on A4 paper. I printed out my design.
I was like, wait,
I would apply to be an ARC reader, but I don't know if I would actually be trusted to actually get a review up in time.
That's fair.
I keep looking at going, I would apply, but I'm probably not going to read it any time before the bloody release. I've got piles of books on my to-read list. Anyway.
Yeah. But like that
thing.
Yeah, the performance in the background is great.
I've not read every story in the book, and I am part of the anthology.
Yeah. Well, some of them are very long. I've read quite a few of them, but I definitely need to catch up. But the cover for that, I hand drew that leaf and hand colored the extra bits on like some of the ones that are a bit browner and everything. And you know, just drawing that leaf took like, 5 hours to try and get it looking realistic and playing with the colors and getting it right. And then laying it all and copying and pasting and, all of that stuff, getting the font, the kerning, I like all of it. And then all of like Charlotte can attest for how many versions it went through of like just changing the font, changing where the type was sitting, not to mention all the issues that Bethany and I have had with getting it to work with KDP. It's been a fucking nightmare. I almost like at least twice a month for the last like 6 months, I've woken up to a message at 5 a.m. from Bethany like, hey, can you just make this little change on the cover? And I'm like, fuck. But it's, like people don't seem to think about that side of it when it comes to design. It's like, yeah, I designed it months ago, but they have issues with it, so I have to fix that. You can't just leave it. So in your pricing, you have to account for that. Like,
you have to
can't just do that shit for free, because then you're taking me away from other jobs that I could be doing. And
not to mention the little tweaks you might have to do with the spine if the spine's not quite right, or the back cover if it's slightly bigger than expected or smaller than expected. There's a lot of consideration in that. Just focusing on book covers. I mean, not even looking at the whole creative business thing as a whole. There's a huge amount of consideration in that.
Even in the last week, I've made a huge change on the cover. Not that Charlotte could see what the difference was, but I completely changed like the snow effect that was on it.
Oh, okay.
Because it was just driving me insane, so I changed it. But it's something like that like all these months later, if a client came back to me and said, hey, this tiny effect on the cover, can you fix it?
Because when I upload it to the job, upload it to the spot that I actually bought it for, it doesn't work. It's,
Yeah, and then that's like not something you can charge for. I mean, a lot of graphic designers will, but how do you charge for a 5-second job?
It's
Like-
fair use. It's fair use. You've got a cover, or you've designed a cover that's to go on DP.
Mm.
You knew that from day one. That was it. So if you designed a cover and sold it to someone, and then came back to you 6 months' time saying, "You just went to upload this to KDP and it's not working. I need your help," is completely different to, "Hey, I just tried to upload this Ingram Spark and it's not working." Well, I didn't design it for Ingram Spark. I designed it for KDP.
Yeah.
That's where you start saying, "Hang on, okay, I'm going to charge you $50 to fix it."
Yeah.
Not-
Yeah.
Okay, you're trying to upload it to KDP. It's not working. That's the service you paid for. I'll fix it. That to me is how the difference. But
Yeah, definitely.
you sure you can't go into yourself in your room? Oh,
Yeah. To be fair though, I have only looked at those 2 photos from my phone screen. So maybe if I put them on full screen on a laptop, I would be able to see it. But
Yeah, probably. It's
a low
it's a
res.
pretty big difference.
Eh,
They were only screenshots though, so it
Yeah.
probably didn't, because I exported it as PNGs, but Discord doesn't let you send stuff like that. So
no, it has to be JPEG on Discord.
I did JPEG as well. It's just too big of a file. So
Yeah, that probably.
but yeah, I've
Good. I was like, no, then I'd have to hotspot and I'd probably pop out.
yeah. It basically just looks more like realistic snow than the weird little orbs that it was before.
You say that, but it still looks the same.
There was a very clear difference to me. Kent saw it, so at least I have Kent on my side. I think everyone else was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And Kent was like, I can see the difference. I was like, thank you.
It was really funny because Emily literally put in the chat, was like, guys, I've got this dilemma. Do you mind if I change the snowflake design? And I was thinking it was like going to be something completely different shape, like you'd done a completely different snowflake style. And I was just like, okay, what are the options? And then you put the 2 photos in, and I was sort of like, is she trolling us right now? They look exactly the same. I can't tell the difference.
To me, there is a very, very clear difference.
It was so funny because I was expecting it to be like a completely like
And here we are seeing the difference between a graphic designer and someone who just makes pretty things.
It's like even on this one, because I've been staring at it nonstop for the last fucking, I don't even know how long I've had this. I went back onto my document because it's been driving me insane, and I blended this section better because I was like, I hate it.
That's the
So
thing, well, when you made it, you notice all the little details. When someone else made it, you don't necessarily.
Yeah.
It's the same if I'm
I-
painting something. I notice all the bits that I didn't quite right how
I could show you every dent and scratch in every piece of chainmail I've ever made because I know it's there.
yeah,
But,
Yeah.
Oh,
but the people who bought it, all they see is a pretty chainmail necklace.
yeah. I think also because I've studied graphic design, they pretty much train you to spot issues with things. Like something that drives me insane. I had this thing. I feel like every graphic designer has this. You start to notice after a while that you use the same font on everything. And I fell into that, and I started using the same font on literally every single project. And then I was like looking at all my stuff while I was sitting on the train. I was like, oh, why does all of this kind of just why is it looking so familiar to me? Transperth uses the same font. And I was just like, fuck, because I was catching the train every day to TAFE, So I was like, that's why I use it all the time, because I'm sitting there on the train staring at fucking Gill Sands every day for 45 minutes.
But also, too, as a graphic designer, you fill up your hard drive with all sorts of new fonts, all sorts of pictures, all sorts of videos.
Yeah. My phone is full. My iCloud is full. And for some reason, iCloud is not letting me clear it out. So I'm basically just like ignoring the messages of like, your iCloud is full. Your iCloud is full. I'm like, shut up.
It's like, the reason no, you can't play with the phone. The reason I started playing around with the design today was because I finally got onto Creative Market and downloaded the new 6 freebies. And one of them's the font, and I went, "Oh, I really like that font. I could do something with that."
I've downloaded so many.
I know. But the beauty is you just sync them. I sync them to Dropbox, and I only download the ones when I want to use them.
Yeah. Steve sent me a quick like mock-up he did of his cover. He's nowhere near like publishing or anything yet, but he was like, "Oh, I was inspired by you doing your cover, and I just like quickly mocked this up in Canva," and I was just like, "Oh yeah, that's really cool. I could probably do it for you if you want." And now every time I look at Creative Market, I see a font, and I'm like, "Oh, I should get that for Stig's cover. Oh, I should get this cover."
No.
Like, every time I see people talking about their books and their covers and like what style it's like, I'm like,
I love Creative
they have
Market.
asked me, I could use that font for this. It's so bad. It's really bad. And because they've started putting brushes up as well for like Procreate and stuff, I'm like, ooh, new brushes.
I don't have
all the freebies. I would say, for those of you watching, if you don't know, there's a website called Creative Market. Go to it. Sign up for the emails, because every week you get 6 free items. They could be icons, they could be a font, it could be just pictures, it could be vectors, brushes. And I can't use half of it because I don't have Procreate, and I don't have the high end things. But if I ever do go and get a professional to do my cover, I could always turn around and say, "Oh, well, I have this," and give it to them to you.
But all the vectors and stuff should work in Affinity Design.
I haven't. The brushes and that should work too, but I haven't quite figured out how to get them to import properly. I have watched a video on doing it. No, you cannot play with Mummy's phone. But I just haven't got my head around doing it. And to be honest, I've got a Surface Book, Windows Surface Book. I've got the original one. It's getting close to 8 years old now.
Yeah.
It's really struggling, particularly with the publisher, the Affinity, 3 Affinities, the photo, the Illustrator, the publisher one. It's really struggling. Like, I was doing some background erasing this afternoon, and I was like doing a stripe and then sitting and waiting for the stripe to appear.
Oh, that's not what you want.
Yeah. We're talking when we get into when we move to study, we're talking potential upgrades. But I'll have to go back to a desktop. If I'm doing this kind of stuff, I'm going to have to go back to a desktop.
Yeah, or an iMac.
No. I've had.
Oh, you bought the Windows one, so.
Yeah, I bought Windows, but I've had Macs, and I used Macs, and I really did like it. But at the end of the day, I know Windows. I mean, I have no problem getting into the back end of Windows and fixing things. So, I'm more comfortable using Windows.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've got a gaming laptop, and it works great.
Yeah, gaming laptop
on this.
Really.
Yeah. I don't use it a lot for gaming right now.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing is, I used to have gaming laptop, and that was fantastic for photo manipulation. Excuse me.
Is that a massive Pirates of the Caribbean poster behind you, Anne?
Yes, it is.
I was just looking at it. I was like, why does it look like Johnny Depp is just standing behind you?
Because
And then I was like,
he is. That's my
Wait.
pride and joy. I went to the video shop with my parents once, literally to just run in, grab a new release, and run out. And I saw they had this, and this was like peak Pirates of the Caribbean obsession for me. I never asked my parents for anything. I never asked them for money. Never. And I was like, what, 14 when this movie came out or something? I can't even remember. And I ran to the car and I was like, Dad, can I spend $30 on a poster? And he was like, what the fuck? I was like, it's a wood-mounted Pirates of the Caribbean poster. I've never asked you for anything. I just really need this in my life right now. And he was like, okay, Jesus, here's $50. I was like, oh my God. And like ran back in and grabbed it, and like chucked it in the car and sat with it on my lap. And I've had it ever since. And I'm never getting rid of it. It is like my most precious item in my, well, no, it's like my second most precious item in my life. My first is when Dan and I first started dating. For my birthday, he bought me a music box that plays the Locket music from Pirates of the Caribbean 2.
Oh, beautiful.
But he gave it to me in a jar of dirt. I literally had to like go out to the backyard and pour out the jar of dirt.
And it's a positive session. I like that.
It was great. That was he definitely spoiled me on that one. And that was like one of, I don't know, 5 presents he got me. It was ridiculous. He went really over the top. But and I hate birthdays. I hate celebrating my birthday. So he really just fucking rubbed it in. I was like, you're an asshole. But no, it was honestly the best. I fucking love that thing. Because I had that as my ringtone as well when we first started going out.
oh.
We just read what Yaz has said. It hasn't popped through yet. Yeah. See, they're not possessions, though. They're darling little things, but they're not possessions.
No, but also he comes after all my Beauty and the Beast stuff.
I thought that too, Yasmin, and I was like, oh, wait, no, yeah, she said items, didn't she?
I actually thought you were going to have the Beauty and the Beast lamp myself, but...
That's pretty. I mean, that's technically not Beauty and the Beast. It was made by my grandparents, but it's pretty up there. But I don't know. The Pirates of the Caribbean stuff is like, my obsession with Johnny Depp is like a whole nother level. And Pirates of the Caribbean is just, I already love pirates. Like Treasure Island and Treasure Planet were my favorite. I've watched every version of Treasure Island ever that's existed. And Treasure Planet was like my favorite pirate movie ever. I was obsessed with it. I love it. It's another one of those movies that I can literally quote from start to finish, the whole thing, just while I'm watching it in time, completely recite the whole movie. So when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, I already had a Johnny Depp obsession. At the age of 8 when the first movie came out, I'd already seen like What's Eating Gilbert Grape and like 21 Jump Street, all of that stuff. I was obsessed. And then Pirates of the Caribbean came out and I was like, Johnny Depp is going to be a pirate? Are you fucking kidding me? And then I saw it and I was just like, whoa, this is my life now. And then I was that weird, obsessed pirate girl.
I was pretty upset. I was pretty skeptical because it was a movie made based off a ride in Disney. And so I went into it with pretty low expectations. And I enjoyed it. It's a good movie, you know. But I love a pirate movie. I mean, you're talking to someone that enjoys ice pirates, for crying out loud. Ice pirates. Now, I don't expect anyone here to have ever seen that film. It was bad, but I'll still watch it because it's got pirates in it. But anyway, I think we're going to have to call it there, guys, because I have to get this one to sleep.
I have to get this one to sleep.
Yeah, this one has to take her makeup off and go to sleep.
Look, you know what? I'm going to bed. He can stay up and play with his Duplo. I don't care.
As long as he passes out on the couch, it's fine.
Oh, he knows how to go back to his cot.
because we've got it set up as a toddler bed, so he can climb in and out of it. It's fine. He'll sleep on the floor. This kid will sleep on the floor at the door. That was before he learned how to open the door handles.
Yeah, my sister had to. God damn it, my mum had to take my brother's door handle off when he was like a year old because he learned how to open the door, and he learned how to climb out of his cot. And then one day he climbed out of the window.
Yeah. We put the cot down to toddler very early because he's very tall and he was trying to climb out. And we thought, no, I'm not dealing with the thump in the middle of the night because he's tipped the whole way over. Yeah. So we've just lived with him sleep. He ended up sleeping on the floor a lot the first couple of weeks because he wanted to be with us, so he kept trying to get out. Now we can open the bloody door, can't we?
That's why I got the round handles on my doors.
Well, we have half round handles and half these ones.
Yeah.
One's behind. So all the bedrooms are this. But all the external doors are round. And I'm just like, why couldn't you just say one? Papa, you are very tired. Doesn't want to be on me, but doesn't want to be down there.
Yeah, time for bed, Snuggles.
Mm-hmm. Okay, time for bed? Or would you like a shower? Would you like a shower? Who wants a shower?
Shower time.
You want to go to the shower? Yeah? Yeah, go to the bathroom. I'll be there in a minute. He'll stand there at our ensuite and rattle because we've got a it's dark out there. Oh, it's very dark out there. And the scary kitty's staring at him. Do you want a hot shower for bed? Yeah? So I'm very distractible right now. I'm very tired. Yeah. Oh dear.
Oh my gosh, sorry.
Yeah, what Sue said. My parents had done that too.
Hockey straps, yeah.
Yeah.
He's usually pretty good, and he knows he can open the door, but he normally doesn't come out. Like, he'll come out 2 or 3 times, then he'll go in and he'll stay in his room. But he's just because he can hear us talking. He's yes. How did you play? Pick that up, please. Good boy. Yeah. But anyway, so thanks for the discussion tonight, ladies.
Yeah.
Is there anything we want to plug before we head off?
Oh, Emma's got a Patreon and a Redbubble that you should.
No, stop! Don't do it! Don't give me your money.
Oh, I'm much guy. I've got a Redbubble. I've got a Patreon. Come! I need all the money. Going on mat leave soon. I need money. I need to pay for professional editing of my book.
When A Season of Darkness comes out on the 20th of March, then I will gladly take your money if you buy that book. Redbubble I'm okay with because you get something in return. So that's fine. Redbubble.
That's what I like about Redbubble, and that's what I want to focus on a bit this year is to get my design skills back up so I can start doing some stuff because I prefer to give you something in return. Yeah. I'm a bit funny with the Patreon. I know the Patreon is something in return, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, I'm a piece of shit with Patreon. I suck. I'm like, yeah, people are going to get things from it, and then I just haven't done anything.
Yeah. Well, my first post in about 4 months was, yeah, guys, we've got a stream this weekend. Don't forget to come. Because I've just been so bad with the bloody pregnancy.
Yeah, the last thing on my mind has been posting something up there.
I have a newsletter that I'm sending the first one out soon.
I'm
So-
looking forward to it, Charlotte. I'm
Huh?
ready. Got my subscription. I'm ready.
Yeah, I know. I find it endlessly amusing going through people's answers to the question I put in that's completely arbitrary and like not required. But it
I
was
can't
like,
even
do you
remember what I wrote.
Chaos gods? And all of the answers are so funny. There was one that was like, yes, I think. And there was others that were just like, duh. And then there was others that were just like, hell yes.
I think mine was. Have you seen my YouTube channel?
Yeah, it was. Okay, you can sign up for that if you haven't already. I have channel and stuff.
We try, Sue. We try content. Content is what we try. That's what we've been sitting here for nearly 4 hours gas bagging.
I'm hoping for one video a week and maybe one stream a fortnight this year.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
my goal.
looking at one video a week, including streams, because I just don't know what my health is going to be like. I'm getting morning sickness again.
No.
Thank you. End of second trimester and start of third. Yeah, I'm back on my nausea pills. I just can't. So it's so I've just got to take it easy and not push things.
But yeah, I'll have a book out at some point, and then I've got a video out at some point, probably not in that order, and a cabaret out at some point, also not in that order. But yeah,
I've got a children's book available for sale.
Yeah. Go sign up to Emmy's Patreon. Just to make her go buy Renee's book to help her pay off the costs of publication.
Yeah.
And
that book actually cost me a fair bit because I kept stuffing it up.
$700 and something.
Yeah, included buying the stock that I have here for signed copies.
That's cool.
But it was the real cost was I had to redo the front cover twice, so I ended up paying 2 lots of $25 there, US. No, just 12, and I had to upload the innards about 3 times because I was just using Photoshop elements, and I couldn't get it to export properly. But you don't know until you've put it up there. You've done everything, and they check it. They go, "Oh, this didn't work," and you're like, "Oh, so now I have to pay again."
It really should have
have a validation area, but it comes up validated, and then you print it and you get it and you look at it and you go, that's not right, So by the time it gets to proof stage, you have to pay again if you want to fix it. Yeah, which is fine. Look, Ingram Spark is very much you've got to approach it with a professional mindset. Is you've got to have the product ready to go, and if it's not ready to go, that's on you.
Yeah,
hold your hands.
It's kind of fair. I kind of like the sound of that better than KDP. That's just like, yeah, just stick it in and we'll print it.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
Is there anything wrong with it?
See, what was also too though? Don't run off with that. Yeah, and also too though, it's also where they put it as well though, because it goes in all the library catalogs and everything. So technically, a library, like you could walk into a library and ask them to get my book in because it's listed. So you are paying for that, and they do want to have some form of quality in that respect.
I wonder if we'll have to do that with A Season of Darkness.
We should probably, we should let them know about
that. Where's your ISBN coming from? US?
America.
Probably
US. On their side.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to send it to the Library of Victoria.
Okay. But yeah, it's going through
Western Australia. No, because the ISBN is listed over there. They have to do theirs.
Yeah, I think it was using my best. So
Yeah.
But you're in bookstores and stuff. Okay.
Sue is taking us out of context.
Oh my God, we're going on my hours. This is basically a chaos corner.
I'm sorry, but this is new.
He's so proud of himself.
Because I would do it for him. He'd be going, ooh, and I'll go for him. But him doing it himself is new. Oh. And I don't know where, he's obviously been watching Mummy and Daddy because he now covers his mouth when he coughs. So he goes, okay, it's bedtime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you hear that, Mr. Lower Lip? Blah, 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 blah. Thank you to those of you that have lasted this long. And if anyone is rewatching this and they've lasted this long, fantastic. Subscribe to these two ladies. And go to Emmy's Redbubble. Buy lots of stuff. Have you got your Redbubble up yet, Charlotte?
No, because I couldn't get the files to work. And then I spent ages. And then I worked out getting and then I got copyright strikes on the other ones I put up and I haven't bothered to fix it yet. Yeah, two of the ones that I put up as tests that weren't even live got taken down for copyright against Disney. because I think I just tagged them with like Rebel Alliance or something.
Oh yeah.
No, you can't do that. And I was just like, oh, okay. So that was the last attempt. I'll put it up eventually. I was gonna just try and do a couple more designs on my tablet, and I haven't done it yet. So, but I do a T-shirt that says "What the fuck are goats?" Because that's kind of hilarious. But yeah, anyway.
You also need one now that says a goat is licking my ass.
I clearly need to go back and watch the start of this.
It's literally in like the first 5 minutes.
Really good. Because Dad moved to the pen. Now the seat sit out to street outside goat fence. And goats like come and sniff around, be like, "Oh, what's this?" And then one of them seemed to think that my pants were gonna taste good and kept trying to lick me. And then it moved on to the arms and was just like licking just every now and then. Like,
yuck.
So I need to go shower.
I clearly need to go to bed.
Well, I've got a bedtime fight ahead of me.
He just needs to dance.
The sky's awake, so you're awake, huh? Oh, don't lick. He's licking my armrest.
He's taking a leaf out the goat book.
Come on, Bubba. You are so tired.
He is a goat, a dancing goat.
You gonna say good night? Good night, night. Give kisses. Give kisses. Oh, you got half a kiss there. Bye-bye. Okay, guys. Have a good night. I'm probably out and just he can play, I guess. No more